2024 meeting, and the first order of business is our invocation and pledge.
Heavenly Father, we come at this time, oh God, to thank you for all that you've done for us. We acknowledge, oh God, that you're our maker and our creator, and it's in you that we live, move, and have our being. Without you, oh God, we can do nothing, but with you all things are possible. We thank you now, God, for this opportunity to come together as a community. We pray for your wisdom, for your guidance in this meeting. Ask, oh God, that you continue to bless our city, our state, our nation. And we ask, oh God, that you continue to keep us on one accord. And we pray, oh God, that in this meeting, that we will be able to do something that is beneficial for our community. And we'll be able to give you all the glory, all the honor, and all the praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, folks. Thank everybody for being here tonight. And just bear with me, please. I have to read the meeting procedures so everyone understands the procedure of these meetings. The meeting procedures. The planning staff presents the application request to the Planning Commission during the staff's report. The report evaluates how the proposal conforms to Glynn County zoning ordinance and other applicable regulations and conforms to the comprehensive plan when applied to zoning matters and ordinances. Applicants shall have the opportunity to present their request to the Planning Commission. It is the responsibility of the applicant to make presentations on request and to address any conditions or factual findings with which they do not agree. The public hearing portion. The public comments on public hearing items will be limited to 30 minutes for each opposing side, with a maximum of 5 minutes allocated to each speaker. Comments are limited to relevant information regarding your position and should avoid being repetitious. If your group has a spokesperson, please allow that individual to present your group's position in the allotted time. The applicant may then provide a rebuttal to any testimony. The chairman may terminate testimony if it becomes repetitive. The chairman will terminate a speaker's time if the speaker begins personal attacks. Your cooperation in this process will be greatly appreciated. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Folks, and I know one item on this agenda is very contentious. We all live in this community, so let's be as friendly and as neighborly as we possibly can be. So with that being said, we would like to take a vote among the commissioners to move item 2.6, which is ZM 24-11-5140, Blythe Island Highway rezone, to the first item on our agenda. Commissioners?
Offer a motion to move that item.
Second. Okay. Commissioners? Vote. It's unanimous. So that item, so we can clear out the majority of these folks first. All these people make me nervous, folks, so I'm ready to get y'all out of here. Now, in our general business, we have to approve the minutes of our regular Mainland Planning Commission from May 7th, 2024, subject to any necessary corrections. Commissioners?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, commissioners, let's vote.
All in favor?
All in favor. Okay, it's unanimous. All right, folks, we're going to start off with the biggie right off the bat.
And Mr. Chairman, I am involved as architect in this project, so I will need to recuse myself.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Higgins?
But we can ask you a question if we need to about what you have done.
I guess, yeah.
Is that?
Is that
Okay,
That's fine, but I think it'd be better to step down to the podium when you answer those questions.
Okay.
If they come up.
okay, thank you, Aaron. All right, folks, item 2.6, ZM 24-11-5140, Blythe Island Highway Rezone, consideration of amendment to a planned development PD district, ZM 1775, for 5140 Blythe Island Highway, parcel 03-16454. The purpose of this amendment is to add homelessness services to a list of uses allowed in the PD text. Assembly of God Loan Fund owner. Ms. Leaf?
Good evening, Commissioner. Stephanie Leaf, Planning Manager. This is ZM 2411, and this is 5140 Blythe Island Highway rezone. This property is currently located on Blythe Island Highway. To the right of your screen, to the east is Highway 341. This is Blythe Island Highway. This is the property right here where the star is located. And currently it is planned development district. There is a church building on the property. It has been operating as a church for a number of years. So the PD that's on the property does allow for a number of commercial uses as well as the church use that it's been. And so this is just an aerial photo so you can kind of see some of the surrounding neighborhood. And I'll just go back here for the zoning real quick. There is a mix of zoning in the area. There is some light industrial to the west over here. There is a mobile home park on the right side of the screen. Across Blythe Island Highway, there's highway commercial, single-family residential, and then there's local commercial. And then behind the property is this neighborhood that is a mix of R12 and R9, and so that's single-family residential as well. So they're looking to amend the existing plan development text. They are planning to keep all of the existing uses that are in the PD currently, and they do want to add several services and uses related to homelessness services. They have stated that they do not plan to operate as a day shelter. They will have overnight accommodations for residents that are involved in their programming. So it will not be a shelter where someone could walk in from the street and seek shelter for the evening. They would need to be enrolled in their program to stay overnight at the shelter. And they would not have people loitering in the parking lot. They do have a plan for ensuring the safety of the property and all of the uses on there. And they will go into more detail when they come up and talk as well. And so that's the crux of this is a rezone request to add these services that are outlined in the plan development text. So here's the property. This is a Google Street View. So there is a driveway with a large parking lot and the building. And then this is what some of the proposed restructuring of the interior would look like. It is a two-story structure on the property now. And then here is the PD text that is in your packet. And so as you can see, a few pages in, it does start with the addition of the new uses for the homeless shelter and the homelessness services. And I will note, there have been some questions about, what could be currently allowed on the property without doing a rezone. The current PD does allow an office. It does allow rendering of personal services. So there, could be a nonprofit office. There could be, an office that has any other kind of, services that would be operated in that, rendering of personal services. If they were to have, laundry facility that people would come and do laundry, that could be under rendering of personal services. But so the bigger one is an overnight, sleeping accommodations. That's not allowed at all under the current PD. And so these are your possible motions. We did receive several phone calls with questions about the application and some concerns. We did receive one public comment letter that was in your packet from a resident Ellis Point that had concerns. And so I'm happy to answer any questions this evening. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, any questions for Ms. Leaf? Okay. Thanks. I guess we have none, Ms. Stephanie. Would the applicant like to step forward?
Good evening.
Yes, ma'am. Please state your name.
Yes. My name's Donna Howard, and I'm with Saved by Grace. So what I'd like to start with is what we are not. Saved by Grace is not a homeless shelter. We are a transitional work program for men. Men are required to work. We are not a handout. We are not a place to loiter or to hang out. We are not a place to come for prepared meals, and we are not chaos. Again, good evening. My name is Donna Howard. I am one of the founders of Saved by Grace, and I am the executive director. Maria Gamble is also sitting here. She's one of my founders as well, and she's the assistant director. Founded by two friends with the same passion for helping others, Saved by Grace is made up of two women that are on a mission to serve God by being the hands and the feet of Jesus. We serve because Jesus served. We're on a mission to help this community by giving hope and loving the least of these. This mission of Saved by Grace is to restore hope, one life at a time, all for the glory of God. In November of 2016, we saw a need in the community. After trying to and being met with opposition with missions with a local church body, Saved by Grace was founded. While waiting on our nonprofit status, we got busy helping those in need. Our nonprofit status was granted in March of 2017. Working full-time jobs and doing Saved by Grace out of the trunks of our cars, and after hours and on the weekends, we continued to see a need in the community. Our first office was donated to us in 2018. In December of 2019, Pastor Curtis Geary, former pastor of Rhema Community Church, offered us their mission wing to operate Saved by Grace out of. This included our very first opportunity for overnight bed space. The reason we're here is to operate our Homeless to Home program. It's an overnight men's transitional work program. So that program is explained as an all-male transitional work program to transition men from homelessness to back to being productive, tax-paying members of society. We assist them with obtaining documents. We assist them with obtaining any other documents that they need, ID, birth certificates, those things, employment, social services, health care when needed. A criminal background check is conducted on all men that are interested in staying. Prior to admission of the program, they have to pass the background check. They are not allowed to stay when they come in for their intake. No client is accepted same day. No emergency shelter is provided, so we are very much unlike, say, the Salvation Army, where they can just come in and stay. Some of the things that men are required while in the program, there are 4 pages of these rules, but these are just kind of the highlights. They're required to find a 40-hour-a-week verifiable income job. They are not allowed under-the-table pay. That doesn't allow them a paper trail to get an apartment. It doesn't allow them what we're trying to get them set up for. They are required to attend 2 on-site recovery meetings. One is faith-based, one is not. They're required to abide by an 11 o'clock p.m. curfew 7 days a week. They're required to come back to Saved by Grace to sleep every night. Each man is required to remain sober from drugs and or alcohol. Drug test and breathalyzer test are administered at random and sometimes daily. We are zero tolerance. Daily chores are required. Again, trying to teach them home skills, getting them back into society. They are required to respect others, all staff, all volunteers, all other clients and personnel, volunteers, donors, anyone that walks up on the property. We are also zero tolerance for disrespect and violence. Each man is required to grant Saved by Grace random room and bag checks with no warning. Each man is required to work on his own housing plan from day 1. After 30 days of being in the program, each man is required to pay to stay to help transition him from being homeless to self-sufficient. It teaches him to pay rent, and it teaches him how to transition from getting back from being homeless into being a tax-paying member of society. Men are allowed to be with Saved by Grace up to 6 months, depending on his individual case plan and needs. If a client, while in the program, is asked to leave for any reason, he doesn't just wander away. He is escorted off the property by a staff member. If it's overnight, it's by the house manager or the security personnel. He doesn't just wander away after being kicked out or asked to leave. In addition to these few rules, as I stated, there are 4 additional pages of rules that each client has to follow. We have a warning system in place, and each offense has a consequence. Eventually dismissal of rules, each offense has a consequence and eventually dismissal if the rules are not followed. So in the new space, what we're trying to get approved for tonight, just a few things we plan to have. We will have on-site overnight security, which will include the inside of the property as well as the outside. Have a perimeter privacy fence will be installed as well as keypad entry to the property. Cameras will be throughout the property, inside and outside, with the capability of mobile monitoring as well as on-site monitoring. Clients wanting to smoke will do so in designated smoking areas out back that are not visible from the road. At no cost to the community, there will be a space designated for public safety officers and personnel. Commissioners, it's always been our mission to help the less fortunate and be good neighbors while doing so. Safety is always a priority for us at Saved by Grace. Saved by Grace works very closely with all local law enforcement personnel and agencies. And we also work closely with the Department of Community Supervision for those on probation or parole. We ran the exact same programs in our previous space for 4 years. Most people didn't even know we existed until we tried to come before you last year. To me, that shows no history of violence, issues, or anything else that may be a concern. We always want to produce positive results while remaining out of the news and under the radar. We have never had clients sleeping on sidewalks. We do not have a row of porta potties set up for clients to use. We do not have clients sleeping in the woods near our offices so they may receive services. It is our goal to always have constant communication with anyone that neighbors us. In our previous space, we had a neighborhood liaison, and anyone in this room can write this number down. My cell phone number is 912-266-3459. Our office is always available to call and discuss any issues or concerns. Our office phone number is 912-217-0256. Again, we're always open to questions or concerns. In summary, may I turn this way to see the?
What do you want to see, ma'am?
I'm just going to do like a little raise your hand thing. Is that okay?
No, ma'am. You
No?
need to
Okay.
address us.
Okay, thank you. So we serve those that are, hungry, homeless, some have mental health issues, some, for whatever reason have lost their home, all those things. So we are asking for the commission to realize that they are all someone's son or daughter. They're all dads, they're all moms, they're all sisters. We know not everyone wants help. We understand that. Politics aside, please allow us to continue to help those that do want the help. Let our proven track record speak for itself. Allow us to continue restoring hope one life at a time. Matthew 22:37-40 says, Jesus said to him, you should love your Lord, your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like this. You should love your neighbor as yourself. Commissioners, we are all called to love God and love people. And that's exactly what Saved by Grace does. Thank you.
Okay, I have some questions
Yes,
for
sir.
you before you leave. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do have a couple of questions, Ms. Howard. And I want to thank you for the work that you do in the community
Yes, sir.
with this program. But as far as the number of applicants that you would house at one time, what's the number on that? That would be my first question.
So in our previous location, we had 14 beds. In the new location, we could have 29, I believe.
Okay, and I think I heard you mention that the length of time for one applicant can go up to 6 months.
Yes, sir.
So would that be the same for everyone, as far as the program that you have set up? It's a duration of 6 months?
Yes, sir. So depending on what his case plan is, what his needs are, and how fast he works the program, most of us in this room probably know that the housing market around here is not the best, and so it's hard to find something that you can afford, especially if you're coming out of homelessness and you're just getting back into the workforce and those things. So a lot of times it's minimum wage type jobs. And so if he can't find something that's going to sustain an apartment or something like that, it may be a little longer, but up to 6 months. But not everyone stays the full 6 months.
Okay.
Some
But-
move out faster.
Okay, but are you saying that there is the possibility that someone can stay longer than 6 months if they can't find adequate housing?
I mean, in the past, there may have been one or two, but for the most part, they know when they come in, they have up to 6 months to stay. Everyone knows their exit date.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And one of the question that I have right at the moment is concerning transportation. I think I heard you mention that each applicant will be responsible for their own transportation getting to and from whatever their work site would be. Is that pretty much the case?
That honestly depends on where he is working. We are a huge partner with Sea Island, and Sea Island provides that transportation to and from work. So when we were at the Cornerstone location on 341, the Sea Island bus would pick them up at all hours. We had some guys that had to be at work at 4 a.m. They would show up at 3 o'clock in the morning to pick them up, and then they would bring them back. So depending on what the schedule is, I'm in very close contact with Sea Island's transportation coordinator, and she will, send a bus to pick them up. Other times, if they work at, say, like McDonald's or whatever, we can transport them Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We have 2 vehicles. We do provide transportation for those clients, or they can ride a bicycle.
Okay. But you would furnish transportation for your applicants if
Correct.
needed?
If it falls under the hours of 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, yes, sir.
Okay.
So just have a couple questions of clarity. And I probably could ask Ms. Leaf this one question. There's comments in the application about the septic tanks not being sufficient. So do you have a plan for that?
I mean, I think Kevin was speaking on that earlier.
Oh, Kevin,
may
to the-
speak.
okay, I'll ask you my other questions and then you could ask. So you mentioned criminal background checks. So
Yes, ma'am.
you're not saying that none of the men have a criminal record? You're saying no active warrants, or do you have men that have criminal records in the facility?
So we use TechScreen, which is a local criminal background company.
Right.
And what we look for is active warrants. We look for violent behaviors or violent offenses for women and children, or even for the men in the last 10-year period. Those are kind of the basic things like assault, any family violence act, any of those things are not accepted.
So if they ever had any of those, they're not, even if they've served their time, they're not?
If it's been within 10 years, they're not allowed to be here.
Okay, and so nobody on the sexual offender list?
No services are allowed for sex offenders at all. No, ma'am.
And then you mentioned that when someone is removed from the program, they are escorted off the property.
Yes,
Do you transport them to somewhere besides the neighborhood?
Oh, we never go into the neighborhoods. We ask them where they need to go. A lot of times it will be, downtown to the water park, or to the waterfront, maybe to a cousin's house, a mom's house, or whatever, into, in the community. A lot of times it's just, down the road at the gas station.
Yeah, I think my question was, do they ever get escorted off the property and then immediately on foot? Just with the concern of the residential areas, would that occur, or would you always take them to somewhere where there is some type of services, I guess?
We always try to take them to some type of services.
Okay.
So whether it be the well or the Salvation Army, somewhere that doesn't have the restrictions that Saved by Grace has.
Okay. And then will you just kind of go into a little more detail about the I think it was 1 hour a day
Yes, ma'am.
services? So that is just for the men that are staying there?
So that is in the program that's not being mentioned. I can talk about that program if you'd like, but that's not the reason that we're here. That's for the walk-in service side of it. Those men and women that come in for services, whether it be laundry, I'm drawing a complete blank. Laundry, showers, those
Yeah.
types of things, they can only be there for 1 hour.
Okay. So those, what is, and I understand those services might be allowed on the facility under the current zoning PD
Yes,
text maybe, but what's your intake process and making sure those folks, because I truly believe it's a very needed, services,
ma'am.
so you're gonna have influx of people. How are you determining who gets those services that, I think the vast majority of people in the room are, rightfully so.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am.
Are there going to be an additional population of folks that aren't members of their you know, neighborhood residents that will be transversing, cutting through their neighborhoods to get back out to I-95.
Correct.
Because if you don't know, that's the shortcut Ellis
Yes, ma'am.
Point is. Unfortunately, they're gonna go through there versus go out on 341 most likely. So how do those people get admitted to have those services?
So we do 3 shower runs per day for that program, so that the clients do not have to walk there. It helps prevent the traffic
Okay.
in front of the neighborhood coming to and going back, leaving from Saved by Grace. And so we provide that transportation, so that will transport clients onto the program, or onto the property, and then off the property as well. And we will take them back where they came from. And a lot of times it's just, the side of the road, whatever it may be, the racetrack or whatever. Sometimes it's just, we see somebody walking down the road and we'll say, hey, you want to go get a shower, and we'll take them and then take them back. But it's never in a residential area.
Okay,
And I thought of one more question, if you don't mind, Chairman, could I
thank you.
Absolutely, sir.
address Ms. Howard again? I know you mentioned that you have a list of rules for your applicants to follow.
Yes, sir.
And I know you probably didn't have time to, really elaborate on each and every rule, but I was wondering, do you have a rule in place that would prevent your applicants from hanging out, say like to the corner store? I know there's a new, what's the?
Wawa.
Wawa.
Yeah,
Parkers.
And Parker's right there on the corner.
right.
Now, do you have any kind of rules or policies in regards to your applicants just hanging out somewhere in the neighborhood, like the stores or not?
So it's not specific for any one location, but we do have it. It says, I acknowledge and I understand I am to represent Saved by Grace in the program at all times. I understand if a community member, neighbor, business owner, employer, etc., calls and complains about me, I will be dismissed from the program immediately, and I will be banned from all services of Saved by Grace for 1 year. So does that answer your question? So if there's any community that has an issue with any client that we serve, they are banned from the program for 1 year. We also, like I said before, we work closely with, in our previous location, we had a couple neighborhood liaisons. So most of you guys probably know we were next to River Ridge last time. And so what happened is when people realized who we were and where we were, they were like, hey, this is what we've been seeing. And so what I did is I had them over to Saved by Grace, let them tour the facility. They were like, this isn't what I thought, of course, but in trying to help that neighborhood, I gave my personal cell, which I gave to everyone in here earlier. And anytime there was an issue on, let's say, the neighborhood Facebook page, or somebody saw somebody wearing a backpack walking down the road, she called me. And I immediately, she would send me pictures. And so we always try to fix those problems.
Yeah, I know that there's a big issue, in the community, whether it's on the south end, north end, where you have a lot of homeless people just hanging out. And sometimes they're not a part of a program, but they're
Correct.
just hanging out with other friends who may be. And I was just concerned about something like that.
Yes, sir.
Or the applicants, when they have free time. You mentioned that there would be a designated area in the back of the property for them to smoke.
Yes, sir.
Well, if they wanted to go outside of the campus, maybe to the corner store or something like that, I was just wondering whether you have anything in place to, discourage that or, prevent that.
Yes, sir. That would be the only thing that I had. Just, you're a representative of Saved by Grace all the time, and even when we were over on Cornerstone, the manager of the Dollar General right there, she also had my number. And so there would be a lot of times when she had a question about, hey, is this one of your guys? And she had him on camera. Most times it wasn't, because it's such a high traffic area for the homeless. But she would always call because she knew that we were there. And so we try to work with the neighbors, whether it be the businesses or the neighborhoods. But we could certainly put something like that in place to make it a little stricter.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Howard, you mentioned your previous location at Cornerstone.
Yes, sir.
Are you now closed for business until potentially this goes through, or do you have a transitional type business operating now?
So we currently have 2 specific locations. Once we were asked to leave Cornerstone, we were taken in by St. James Lutheran Church to do our walk-in services, so showers, laundry, those types of things. So we're there Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We're in their little church office area. And then the men that were in the program when we left in April, on April the 1st, they were put in a duplex. We have 1 man left. He leaves June the 30th. So all those other guys have either graduated or have been asked to leave the program.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
And I'm not quoting you verbatim, but you said earlier that there, in some of your remarks, that there would be no camping around the facility. How do you plan on policing that?
I mean, we're in the woods a couple days a week anyway. And so when we were even at Cornerstone, that's part of what we did as far as, because I'm not sure, most of you probably know how that was set up. It was kind of like a shopping center, and it had 5 acres out back. We did walk-arounds around that perimeter, including the wood line, once a day. Sometimes 3 or 4 times a day, just to make sure there was no encampments. Because there was woods back there as well. And if there was any trash or whatever, any evidence, then we, of course, made sure that it was all picked up or trying to find out who it was. But I don't recall maybe one time finding trash, and there was no one sleeping there, but it was just trash, like somebody had been sitting there, maybe, smoking a cigarette and having a drink or whatever. But we always did a perimeter walk, and we actually kept a log of who walked around, like what staff member or volunteer. Did we find anything in the parking lot? Was there cars in the parking lot? Were there people, sitting out front or whatever it may be? So there's always walk-arounds and, perimeter checks by staff
Okay.
or volunteers.
So my main reason for that question is and basically you can see it up here, right below your, the starred property. There are some undeveloped lots from Pickett's Landing there. And I rode by there today just to take a look for myself.
Yes, sir.
They are very densely wooded. So I think that is probably one of the concerns, or the major concerns of the people in this room tonight, is to being able to police that and ensure that there are not going to be any encampments in that property. So that's the reason I asked the question. And then the last thing I'll say, and this is more of a statement than it is, and you're welcome to respond.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Dawson was asking some questions regarding the rules. And when you answered his question, your answer was more specifically aimed at the men in the program. And I think the concern, and I don't want to speak for anybody in this room, but if I were a resident of Fadiz Drive or Ellis Point, I would be concerned not about the people in your program that are going to be gainfully employed, but about the people that would be coming to get your services and then potentially walking through their part of town, which you can't control.
Yes, sir.
So that's a concern for me, and I'm sure it's a concern for these folks in the audience. So.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
again, this is what Mr. Edgy is talking about with the people that you go and pick up, they can stay an hour, is that correct?
1 hour, yes, ma'am.
And then you take them back to
Yes,
where
ma'am.
you picked them up from, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, yes.
Okay, and then what do they do when you take them back?
I don't know what they do.
Okay, all right, but you've not had a problem with that,
No,
is
ma'am.
that correct?
No, ma'am. Those people in that program also are required to be, they can't come to the office high or drunk. If they are, they're escorted by staff off the property. They can't come there and be violent. They can't, any type of risk like that is not allowed on property. Because like I stated earlier, safety is #1 priority for us, for everyone.
Okay, and then I want to verify again that the people who are in your program work 8 hours a day.
Some work 12. They're
Okay,
just
but
required to,
A minimum of 8 hours a day.
they're
is that
required to work
correct?
40 hours a week verifiable income.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
all right. So like the rest of us who work 8 hours a day, then we've got to sleep.
Yes, ma'am.
And so have you had a problem in the past with someone in your program that sneaks out?
We have in the past, but if he does, he's asked to leave. He's
Okay.
immediately taken out of the program.
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
for the most part, these men that, I'm not sure who in this room, I forget who it was. I've been in so many meetings in the last year about this relocation, but someone said something about that our men in the program are the cream of the crop. And literally, if they are ready to get their life right, this is the program for it. If they're not, they're gonna walk away or they're gonna max out on their warnings. And so, but if they're ready, this will work for them. And as far as you were asking about the schedule, I verify those schedules. I verify the employment. If he can't just come to me and say, hey, I got a job at Sea Island. I'm gonna call David Kutaya and say, hey, did this guy really get a job? And David's gonna tell me yes or no. So just using that as an example. And two, once a week on Mondays, I get the schedule and I verify that schedule. So it's very much accountability based.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one more question? I apologize.
Absolutely, sir.
When we did the site visit at your facility
Yes, sir.
last week, you mentioned that you keep a log of people that come in and out of the facility.
Yes, sir.
Can you expand on that a little bit for everybody?
Absolutely. Everyone that walks through the doors, whether it be for, to see me for the overnight program or whether it be for day services, he or she has to sign in. The volunteer or the administrative assistant, she will sign them in on Google Drive. First and last name, time in, what services they're there to receive, or who they're here to speak to. So, and then again, that time in starts their 1 hour. Once that 1 hour is up, 15 minutes before that, whoever it is that's in charge right now, they're gonna say, hey, you got 15 more minutes, you're gonna have to leave. 15 more minutes, we're gonna leave with the bus, however it may be that they got there. But while they're there, they are allowed to get some clothes washed, they're allowed to get a shower, they're allowed to put something in the microwave. If it's breakfast, it might be a thing of grits or a granola bar. If it's lunchtime, it might be some ramen noodles or some Easy Mac. So just while they're there, they're allowed to get one little thing to eat and maybe some coffee. But once that hour is up, they leave. They're not allowed to wander around the property. They only have access to the areas in which they are receiving services. So like, for instance, the men's side where the men would be staying, they would not be allowed to wander over there. They can't wander into the kitchen and make them some spaghetti or whatever it may be. They're only allowed to be in one specific location.
And then the last part of that, that log is available to law enforcement. Is that
Absolutely.
correct?
We work very closely with law enforcement and the community with, as far as parole, probation, all those things. Anytime a law enforcement officer walks in, whether it be from any agency, say, hey, has Bob been here? We can look and see when Bob was here last. We can tell you how long he had been here. We can tell you what he was there for. We can even tell you, because every time a walk-in client comes in, Maria will ask them, how you doing? Where'd you sleep last night? We can tell you exactly where they're sleeping.
And what if Bob doesn't have an identification? How do you log him in?
If Bob doesn't have an identification, we'll help him obtain that ID first.
No, I'm talking about for
It's-
the daily hour service.
Yes, sir. It's just first and last name.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
sorry.
So you don't ask for an ID?
We absolutely do, but a lot of them don't have the ID. If they have an identification, social security card, we will make a copy and keep a copy of that in a locked cabinet. If they do not have that, which a lot of them don't, we will obtain that information for them. And it starts with the birth certificate, then the identification, and then the social security card. And once it all is obtained, then we make copies and retain that copy in a locked filing cabinet.
Okay, so if a person, if one of your, I know you don't want to refer to it as a day shelter, but if people are going there for services during the day, I consider that a day shelter.
Okay?
Okay. People can walk up to that facility?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if I walked up there and I was homeless, and let's just say I was a convicted felon and a rapist and all the bad things in society, you would feed me and do whatever's necessary, and I could stay there 1 hour and then leave, and then come back the next day and get a shower and get food the next day. So really, if you don't ask for ID, there's no way to tell. And when you do ask the folks for ID, have you ever given that to the sheriff's department or the county police department for them to run checks on these people to make sure they don't have warrants out for their arrest?
No, sir, we have not.
Okay.
We could. I mean,
yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure what that process would be. but
All
we'd be
right,
glad to.
I want to start from,
Wait a minute, I want to ask her one question based on what
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have to say. He's saying again, someone's gonna walk up there. This is not somebody that you're bringing in. I mean, this is not somebody that you go and pick up for that 1 hour. He's talking about somebody that knocks on the gate.
Right.
And you will take those people in?
We have before, yes, ma'am. We do have people that choose not to use the transportation. They'll ride their bicycle or whatever, yes, ma'am.
okay.
But I'd say probably 95% of them are transported on and off.
All right, okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay, I'll start,
I think Gary
again.
had some questions.
Gary's got some questions for her.
I'm sorry.
Can I finish mine?
Please, sorry. You need to finish?
I would like to, if that's okay.
Go ahead, I'll jump in after.
Okay. Ma'am, okay, we addressed about the walk-ups.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Security, do you have 24-hour security at your facility?
Currently,
Well, you said it couldn't be currently because you're not operating now, are you? At
we
this-
have day services, yes, sir, right now.
Where's
at
that
St.
lo-
James Lutheran.
At St., I thought,
Yes, sir.
I misunderstood. I thought you said you left there April 1st.
No, so we left Rhema Community Church April 1st. That was on Cornerstone.
Why did you leave that?
Because the church had insurance issues, and because we were on the property, they were not gonna be, I think the underwriter wasn't gonna do their insurance policy again, so we left.
Okay, so you don't have, do you have insurance for?
Absolutely.
So if one of your recipients or one of your people that was there to get training for a job, if they hurt somebody or if they did whatever out in the community, are you responsible for that, or is your organization responsible for that?
If it's a client,
Well, it's one of the people that's getting training, or one of the people that walk up for day services, for day shelter.
I think we are, yes, sir.
I'm sorry?
I was referring to Maria. She's more of the insurance person. She says yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Commissioner New already brought it up. The people, when they walk up, they're going to come through all these neighborhoods. They're going to come from, there's a huge, and I know this because I have to run these people off of some of the property for the folks I work for. There's a huge number of people right around the 95 all the way up to the Winn-Dixie area of homeless folks. If those people want to come to your shelter to get fed and take a bath, obviously they're going to come through any way they can get. That's the fastest way. If it's through people's yards or if it's down streets coming through neighborhoods, they're just not going to walk down 341 and go straight up. Is there anything to discourage those people to protect people's property, personal property, from in these neighborhoods?
I mean, I can only speak for what I know, and I haven't seen that to be true in our previous locations. So, I mean.
Okay. All right. Now, this was just totally by chance.
Yes, sir.
I would really have to search the young lady out, and when I say young lady, she was older than I am, that rode up the elevator with me. She knew who I was, but I didn't know who she was. And she said, Mr. Boatwright, would you please keep in mind, I had to move from River Ridge to Pickett Landing because of Saved by Grace. What would you say to her?
I would say that we have in the past extended any kind of questions or concerns, and our phone number, website, all those things have always been available. When all this stuff happened last year, when we were coming before you guys, I think it was August or September of last year, there was this huge uprising on Facebook against Saved by Grace and the homeless. We offered every single person on that post and anyone that even had a comment to call us if you have a question, call us if you have a concern. No one called. No one stopped by for a tour. No one stopped by to see what Saved by Grace was like, none of those things. So I would suggest, pick up the phone and call me. Come see who we are, what we do. Know our hearts. Know that we are here for the good.
Well, ma'am, we're not questioning your heart. I think your heart is in the right place. I think you have a godly heart, and I think that you want to help our community, and I do greatly appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
But in the process, we have to protect our citizens. We have to protect our taxpayers. We have to protect the productive people of our community.
Yes, sir.
Now, and I'm pretty to the point, and I don't mean anything personal to
Yes, sir.
you, but I talked to 3 people today that live in River Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically, all 3 told me the same exact thing, that when you left Cornerstone, their problem basically alleviated. Could you explain that to me?
No, sir.
Okay. One more question I have for you. Your main focus in what you're doing is taking people off the streets that are homeless and making them productive citizens like you or I or 99% of the people in this room. What kind of success rate have you had doing that? How many homeless people have you actually made productive citizens out of?
I need my bag. I have
Oh,
that
ma'am,
number. Is that okay?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, we can get it, no problem.
In 2021, let's see, we had 13 go into housing. 2022, we had 11 go into housing. 2023, we had 13. And so far in 2024, we've had 5 that's come through the program and went into housing. That doesn't include the many families that we help that are now in housing. So our number of homeless to home that we have on our website is well over 100. This is just the program numbers for the homeless to home program for the overnight men. We've helped many women, many families, because we work with Safe Harbor with their coordinated entry program. So with resources like those people, we've also helped other people that didn't come through actual Saved by Grace program. So our actual homeless to home number is well over 100 since we had shelter in December of 2019.
Yes, ma'am. So you do actually have, you could put me in a car tomorrow and take me to folks that have went from homeless to productive citizens in society, and roughly you could show me 100?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
I have one here tonight to talk to you, if you'd like.
That's great. I mean, that's a wonderful thing, and that's,
Yes, sir.
I was just curious personally.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's very wonderful. But the problem that I have is these walk-up people, these people that walk in. And it's not safe, it's unsecure. You told me you do not have security 24 hours a day at your facility? Is that correct?
No, sir, not 24/7, no, sir.
Okay. All right, that's all I have, folks.
Yes, sir.
Comment and a question. We deal with certain situations where there's certain words that carry a certain stigma with it. One of them is like a mining permit. Somebody comes in, they want to dig a lake, and they want to move the soil off-site, so they have to get a mining permit, and people just kind of, the hair on their neck goes up when that's in their neighborhood, even though it's for an amenity. Another word is like homeless. People have this vision of homeless people. And and I really appreciate what you're doing. This is something I think is really needed in this community, a lot of communities. In your previous facility, was there any calls, I guess, to local law enforcement that had to be made for removal or complaints about the people that were there?
I recall one. It was,
Okay.
he came in drunk.
And that was in 4 years?
Yes, sir. We had others where the law enforcement would come up and, hey, do you have so-and-so here? And we did. So he had an active warrant. And this was before we started doing background checks. And so we, of course, pointed them in the right direction. So if I had to guess, total of 5, maybe in 4 years total. And most of those were like probation violations where the sheriff's office just showed up with a warrant.
Yeah, I was thinking more because
Yes,
of
sir.
a complaint that somebody
No, sir.
had that.
No,
Okay.
sir. Again, I think I said earlier, you know, we were there 4 years and until we tried to come before you last September for this move at a different location, most people didn't know we were even there. So we had been there for 4 years. So
Thank
trying
you.
to stay under the radar. Yes, sir.
I think Kevin was going to answer the question about
Yeah.
the sanitation. Sure.
Good evening, Kevin Higgins, architect. Yeah, to address the septic, there are 2 septic tanks and drain fields on site. I've already been in discussion with Department of Health. They were fine for a church, but not for 24/7 use. So I've also been in contact with WSC and an engineer, and we're going to have to actually bring sewer to the site. So that would be part of the renovation.
Kevin, if you don't mind me asking, how far is the sewer away from your facility
I
now?
think it's 900 feet. It's at the cutoff road to 341.
Okay.
And to address one other thing, if I may, about the site, I think there's a couple images that didn't make the slide presentation, but we are proposing a 6-foot wooden privacy fence on the east, west, and north sides against Highway 303. And at the driveway, there would be an electrified, not electrified, a electronic, thank you, electronic gate there at the entrance, and an 8-foot fence on towards the neighborhood in the back.
I'm sorry, you said that you're going to put a 6-foot privacy fence is proposed on you said the east and the west side?
East, west, and north right there, and then an 8-foot fence against the picket landing phase
Okay,
2.
That's the part I missed. Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, any further questions?
No, sir.
All right, it's time to open the public portion of this hearing, and I don't know whether to ask the people that's for it or against it to come first. I'm just going to pick my poison and say, let's hear everybody that is for this agenda item to step forward. You have 5 minutes. Yeah, and to 30 minutes total. Okay, folks, do y'all have one person that represents y'all's group, or are you just individuals here to speak for Saved by Grace? Okay, and the reason why I'm asking is we have 30 minutes total allotted time, so we can go one at a time for 5 minutes each, or if there's one person that speaks for the whole group, that would kind of take care of it. Okay, all right.
I'm one of those success stories you're asking about.
Okay, perfect. So, that gentleman was at the podium first. Let's have your name, sir, and address the commission, please.
Yep. Good evening. My name is Lee Whiteside. I want to give you a quick perspective from a long-term volunteer at Saved by Grace. I've been a resident of Glynn County since 2013 after retiring from a 30-year active duty career in the U.S. Army. I'm here to speak in support of Saved by Grace tonight because I have firsthand knowledge and experience of their success in positively changing lives for the long term in our community. I have spent my life in service to others, to my God, to my family, to my nation, to my community. Saved by Grace is the most effective and successful nonprofit ministry I've ever been associated with at assisting people in transitioning their lives from addiction, homelessness, and dependency to freedom and purpose and self-sufficiency. We are all well aware of the poverty, addiction, and homeless issues in our community, and I assume we all want long-term, permanent improvement for our neighbors who struggle with those issues. We just can't seem to agree on a path to get there. In my experience, that happens one life, one neighbor at a time, and that is where Saved by Grace excels, in those one-on-one relationships. I began serving and volunteering weekly with Saved by Grace almost 5 years ago now. You've heard about their programs and the services they offered. They are structured, they are based on individual responsibility, hard work, patience, sacrifice, consistency, discipline, integrity, many of the same demands and qualities our U.S. military is built on. But it's applied and enforced with a huge helping of compassion, humility, and love. I started out Saved by Grace manning the front desk, taking in and sorting donations, organizing the food pantry, setting up and cleaning up shower after shower after shower, doing more loads of laundry than a barracks full of soldiers. And I started spending more and more time individually with both our walk-in clients and our residents. And I spent a lot of time on the road with them, running guys to and from doctor's appointments, job interviews, VA appointments, the DMV, Social Security. And I started hearing their stories and getting to know them, and I started picking guys up and bringing them to Bible studies and church men's retreats. And I started asking questions. What does success look like for you? Are you willing to do the personal hard work over the long term for your own success? And I started attending the weekly recovery meetings for all our residents, and then helping lead the meetings, and then leading the meetings myself. I celebrated the days and weeks and months of sobriety with our guys. I mourned the relapses and the other poor life choices. I proudly acknowledged new jobs and raises and promotions and opening first bank accounts and paying off loans and debts and court fines and back child support. Saving up security deposits for their own places. Figuring out budgets and bill paying and other life skills. And I celebrated the success, as Donna mentioned, of over 100 folks moving from homeless to home over the past 4.5 years or so. That's a rate of around 2 guys every month, working their way to sober, self-sustaining independence and moving into their own homes. There are plenty of failures, there always will be, and you can scoff at 2 men every month as a drop in the bucket in our community, but I don't know any other ministry or program that has that sort of sustained, verifiable, replicable, long-term success rate year after year in this community. It's a passion, it's a mission, it's a calling, certainly for both Donna and Maria, but also for us volunteers. It's one-on-one, intensive, accountable case management driven by individuals creating and executing their own personal plan of success. It's about relationships. Relationships matter most at Saved by Grace. It's about providing essential services, assessing each individual's unique situation and needs, while still holding folks accountable.
Sir, your allotted time's up.
Okay. I would ask you to please support this request by Saved by Grace and let this amazing ministry expand and continue to succeed here in our own community, among our own people, our own neighbors, our own families.
State your name one more time, sir.
Lee Whiteside.
Thank you for your service to our community and to our country.
Hello,
State your name, please.
it's Brent Clark. I was incarcerated for 379 days in Glynn County for falling behind on my child support. It did what was called a purge payment. But in your all's community, y'all don't have a work release program or anything like that, so you have to sit in there till it happens. When I got out, when I finally was able to purge myself out after the 379 days, because I couldn't get representation while I was in there also, because it's a civil situation, but I was treated like a convict. So when I got out, there were several places I heard I could go, but I didn't know the name of one, but I knew I could go to the Salvation Army, but they didn't offer the services I needed. I heard about the well, but that wasn't anything that I heard that I would like to go to. But I heard of a place I didn't know the name of, so I took a left. I stayed there for a little over 2 years to get back on my feet. I was also another year behind while I was incarcerated in child support. It took me a year and 3 months to pay everything up. A lot of months I paid $1,000 to $2,000 to keep ahead too. They offered me a place to stay. I soon became the housing manager there. We have an awesome partnership with Sea Island that also picks our guys up and takes them to and fro to work. This is a great program for the community. Now, you may not like the walk-in services or anything like that, but the men's transitional program is what you all need in this community. They do a great service. They helped me out. I'm no longer behind on child support. I have my own place now. And I still like to serve with them, but this community had nothing for me to offer. Y'all had nothing to offer me when I was incarcerated for 379 days. In my hometown, there's a work release program where you pay to stay where you're at so you can get out and get ahead, but I had to sit in there and lose 379 days of my life because of a mistake, because I was hit by a car. I had no representation. I wrote the judges, I wrote, several people here, but nobody would help me. But these ladies helped me.
Okay, sir. Is that all you have?
Yes, sir.
State your name one more time.
Brent Clark.
Sir, I'm glad things straightened out for you, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name's Lori Stanley Chase. I'll take about 60 seconds just to say everything that's been said so far. I've also witnessed. I'm also a volunteer there. I come from a lifelong of public service as well in fire rescue and emergency management. And I don't take things lightly. I don't like things that don't work well. And what I've seen that Don and Marie have done there have been amazing. The men's transitional program, it needs to be absolutely replicated all over the world. As for the walk-in services, if you've ever worked out in the yard for 12 hours and you feel nasty and grimy and you've been outside and you want to, the feeling of getting a hot shower and a clean pair of clothes is just amazingly different, and a hot cup of coffee on the cold days. And while you're in there for that hour, you're watched the entire time. Nothing wrong happens. You're not allowed to be disrespectful or anything. Again, I can't give enough accolades, and I've been there, and I will continue to be there as long as it exists to volunteer. And I ask that you accept this resolution.
Okay. State your name one more time.
Lori Stanley Chase.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Kataya. I'm director of Beach Club at Sea Island. I met these ladies a little over a year ago. I was fortunate enough to be asked if I would like to come over and possibly interview some of these gentlemen. I remember vividly the first day I went there. There was 7 guys that were there sitting, listening, greeting, and basically what I talked to them about was, what are you looking to do with your life? What are you looking for? Are you looking for a job? Or are you looking to do something more? I had 4 of them that were committed. They really struck me. And so I took a chance on all 4 of them. Decided, you know what, I'm gonna hire these guys and see what they do. Each one of them exceeded my expectations. And as I got to know them more and more and more, I found out that the one thing that most all of them are looking for is dignity. That's what they're looking for more than anything else, is dignity. You know, we talk about the homeless like they're this way off population over here. But the truth is, any one of us in this room could become homeless. That's the truth of it. And so, you know, we extended an opportunity, and then Donna would call me more and say, hey, I got somebody else that you may be interested in. We're at 10 right now that we're employing at Sea Island. And I know Sea Island stands behind it 100%. I've got Mike Kennedy here, I've got Scott Styland here, the CEO. They stand behind this program. You know, I would encourage others in the community to grasp onto this. You know, I don't want them to grasp on too hard because I want to keep getting the good employees. But the truth is, this program works. It doesn't work for everybody. It's not 100%. Nothing in this world is. But what I'd like to say is, I know that this program works for us. And I think that if we don't do something like this for Sea Island or for this community, we're going to continue to see more homelessness. We're going to continue to see more problems. So that's what I'd like to say.
Thank you. State your name, please.
Name is David Kataya.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Next.
Good evening. My name is Kiva Case, K-A-S-E. I grew up in this community. My mother worked at the pulp mill. My father had the Traveler's Guide magazine, and my uncle, Mark Case, was the senior minister of Blythe Island United Methodist Church for many, many years. I'm a product of Glynn County's public education system, K through 12. I now lead the Communities of Coastal Georgia Foundation. We're a philanthropic organization that invests in solutions to some of our community's most intractable problems. And a bit of my history of employment was that I was the president and CEO of the Buckhead Christian Ministry in Atlanta. And 20 years ago, we purchased a building in the heart of Buckhead on Piedmont Road, on the corner of the entrance to a neighborhood, a very nice Tony neighborhood, Peachtree Park. The organization had to go through similar exercises like this to ultimately convince the community, who is made up predominantly of Judeo-Christian believers who understood the great commandment of loving God and loving neighbor. And once they realized that this could be their shining star, their opportunity to live out their faith in their own community and to serve as a beacon of hope and a beacon of light for those people who have maybe fallen on hard times and only see darkness, they came along and made it their ministry. They joined in our efforts. They became our volunteers, our donors, and our board members. And I would just ask that this community give us a chance. We're ready to invest $2 million into that property, and I believe that it will give us the opportunity to change lives, to change hearts, and to show God we really mean it when we pray in His name in these meetings. Thank you. Kiva Case.
Next.
Good evening. My name is Laura Carana, and I'm here to respectfully request that you approve the amendment to the Planned Development District. I've known Donna and Maria for 4 or 5 years now. I met them when my dad, Lee Whiteside, the first gentleman to speak today, began volunteering at Saved by Grace every week, which he continues to do. I have 2 daughters who are ages 7 and 10. They have visited Saved by Grace several times, and for the last 2 years, we've brought donations of Girl Scout cookies every year, which are very happily received every time. So through my dad's faithful commitment to this ministry every week, I've had an up-close view of how Donna and Maria run this organization, and they run a tight ship. They have high standards of behavior for the men that they serve, while at the same time showing them compassionate love and grace. And this has translated into an impressive track record of getting men off the streets, into jobs, into rehab and counseling, into homes, and more importantly, into community. They are literally changing lives for the better every day, which is more than most of us can say. They are doing the work that we desperately need to be done in this community, and they need a permanent space to do it in. The other reason I'm asking for you to approve this amendment is that not only are they doing work that this county needs, they're doing it in the right way, in a way that is respectful of the surrounding community and respectful of local authorities and ordinances. They are not just following their own agenda at any cost. I have watched them over the last few years as they have navigated very difficult situations and threats to their organization, and they have adjusted the services that they provide and their operating policies as a direct result of feedback that they've received from nearby neighborhoods. They have consistently, proactively sought out advice from the county and the city about how to accomplish their goal of finding a permanent home for this ministry. They show themselves over and over again to be good community members, good partners with local government and nonprofits and law enforcement, and individuals who act transparently and in good faith. These are the type of people that we need running organizations in our community. And the fact that they are good at what they do means that our community should be welcoming them with open arms. Thank you for your time and attention, and I ask that you please vote to approve the proposed amendment.
Thank you. Please state your name one more time.
Laura Carana.
Thank you so much.
My name's Elijah Bobby Henderson. I had the distinct pleasure of serving as elder at Raymond Community Church for 7 years. I was there when we had the meetings to invite Saved by Grace into our spaces. When we created the mission wing, we had a mission that we would serve the community, that we would live up to our middle name, that we would utilize that space to do whatever's necessary to serve the least of these. When we saw the work that Donna and Maria were doing, we had already started investing ourselves, our time and education into learning about the homeless community and what those needs were and how to best meet them. We went and visited homeless shelters in the area, even in Jacksonville, Florida. And Saved by Grace was doing the best work that we could see that we wanted to partner with. We invited them into that space, and they were nothing but good neighbors. They ensured that their clients were good neighbors. I also have the pleasure of being a byproduct, as a recipient of the work that they do. My baby brother is bipolar with schizophrenia. He's also an addict. His wife is also an addict. His wife left him one day, left him and her 2 daughters in a room that they were renting. They were evicted from that room. My baby brother was put out with 2 children that were not his own, and he was too embarrassed to call home. He went to see Donna and Maria. He's one of these walk-up people that you were talking about. He didn't have his license, and I received a phone call from him that day on voicemail on one of their phone. It was a good day. He put me on speakerphone with them, and they told me that they were rendering to him services, helping him to get his license. I'm proud to say that my baby brother is back home. He's back with his wife. He's in treatment. He's gainfully employed. And it's all because somebody showed grace and mercy to him in his weakest moment. I'm asking you to please approve this measure.
Your name one more time, sir.
Elijah Bobby Henderson.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. I'm Don Myers. My wife Susan and I have been property owners on St. Simon's Island since 1996. We've made the island our primary home since '06. From prior service on the Forward Brunswick Board and the Brunswick-Glynn County Land Bank Authority, I come before the Mainland Planning Commission to position the request under consideration. The proposal will allow Saved by Grace to expand its existing partnership in addressing homelessness in Glynn County. As you know from studying Kevin Higgins' floor plan, the facility is envisioned to house 29 individuals and provide space for wraparound services designed to support their transition to full self-sufficiency. Growing in capacity from a prior high of 14 to the proposed 29 benefits the entire Glynn County community. While no further capacity increase is envisioned for this site, being at capacity, 29, reduces the number of Glynn County unhoused, unsupported individuals going forward. This growth and other anticipated growth in our county in the number of individuals receiving transitional housing and wraparound services moves Glynn County closer to meeting the needs of its unhoused residents. Please vote yes on the proposed recommendation. It is in the interest of all of Glynn County to house the unhoused and provide services to better assure their self-sufficiency. Thank you for your consideration. I'm Don Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. How's our time, total time?
About 16 minutes.
16 minutes? We've only been doing this for 14 minutes?
Well, no, you've done it for 16 minutes. You got 14 left.
Oh, I got 14 left?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Good gracious.
We'll be quick. My name is Jennifer Klein, and this is my son, Cannon Klein, a 6th grader at St. Francis Xavier Catholic School. Planning Commissioners, thank you for allowing us to speak with you. When Cannon was born, I made a promise to God to give him every opportunity to know who Christ is. In order to do that, I have to show him the importance of serving others. Every year for the last 3 years, his class and all of his classmates in it have made Christmas cards, Christmas ornaments, and other items. We have taken them and sat down with the men at Saved by Grace. We've handed them out to everyone to show compassion, to show love, to make them understand that people do care about them. We sit down and eat Christmas dinner with them. They are wonderful men. We listen to their stories, listen to about where they've come from. We hope that we are able to still get that opportunity in the future. It's important to show compassion, and it's important for us to continue to be able to show our children the importance of service and what that means to be a Christian and what that means to be a citizen of this community and this country. So I really would hope that you would consider this an opportunity for us to continue to provide that to our children and to our community. Again, my name is Jennifer Klein, and this is Cannon Klein. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Klein.
Hello, I'm Ebony Demery, and I have been employed with Saved by Grace for a few months now. And I just want to say that Saved by Grace isn't just a transitional work program. It's not just a place where people can walk in. It's a place where they can come in, get empathy. They want someone to talk to, a hug, or what may have you. We do all of that. We sit down, we listen to them, we talk to them. People think, oh, they're homeless, they don't have any, but you'll be amazed, that they go through things just as us. And I really hope that you approve this. I feel like this community needs it. Miss Donna and Miss Maria, they put their all into this. They ride around, they look for people to feed, people to pick up, people to shower, feed them, clothe them. Just so many different things, and it's my pleasure to work for them. I love you guys. My name is Ebony Demery.
Hi, I'm Pastor Marie Kane. I'm from St. James Lutheran Church, where I have the pleasure to have Saved by Grace at. If anybody has any questions, please approach me at any time. I'm there in the office. You could email me or call me, but I have to say they have been there for 2 months. 2 months, yeah, right? 3? Oh my goodness, 3 months. Sorry, I just came from vacation. So 3 months, and we had, the way this developed was I saw the need. I contacted and said, hey, I think I have an idea. Come and meet with me. I show them our facility, which one of our spaces is an old house from a member that the church bought, and it has 2 showers, it has a full kitchen, offices, all that stuff, and we have been using it for an office. And to be honest, it was pretty boring at the church. I didn't have anybody else in there except my office administrator. And since they have been there has brought life to the church. It has brought a lot of the outreaching, nourishing people, meaning that us as Christians are called to do. And I have to say, I have been here for 2 years. I'm originally from Puerto Rico, but I moved here from Florida 2 years ago to serve. I was called at St. James. And before they came to us and used our facilities, we ministered to the homeless community, as we are right across the park. And there has always been homeless people that have passed through Starling Street and down in that area there, and have come to our church to look for food, to look for help. I have helped them before, and now I have the pleasure to partner with Saved by Grace, and continue that help. So for those that are concerned about the homeless walking through, well, maybe open your eyes and you will see that the homeless are walking through no matter who is there. It could be a church, it could be a corner store, it could be anything, and the homeless are there. You just don't notice them, but we do, and that's our job. And as Christians and as people of God, we are called to love our neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. State your name one more time, please.
I'm Pastor Marie Kane from St. James Lutheran Church.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. So my name is Jeff Clark. I'm actually the Street Outreach Director for Safe Harbor, but I'm your local coordinated entry director for this coast, and I also manage the rural coordinated entry. So everything as far as data, when the homeless individuals are reporting to Saved by Grace, that goes into a mechanism and a system. It is a HUD-based system that I manage. And so we actually manage it for about 23 counties in this area, minus Savannah. So they're using a mechanism to track homelessness to alleviate recidivism. So every time they are managing and they're actually assessing homeless individuals, whether it be a male or even a family, these individuals are placed in a system. And the system helps build capacity for them to then come into supportive housing or housing. But I want to talk about what they've been able to do over the last 4 years, because I'm in charge of the point in time count too for this region. So this year alone, I did 9 counties for the point in time count. You guys got to excuse me because I'm a little sick. Got a little chest cold. But with Saved by Grace, when we first did the point in time count in 2018, we had over 330 homeless individuals within this community. They were everywhere, not just one location. But you got to remember, homelessness is a site where it's just, we all are just one paycheck or a couple paychecks away from homelessness, or one situation away from homelessness. But at that time, we did over 330 individuals within the community in our point in time count. Since then, we just completed the last point in time count. We've been able to reduce that number to a minimum of 130 individuals that we've counted. And that's because of these programs that are in this community. Brunswick's unique, it's different. It is my job to go into these communities and help build capacity. And in most communities, you don't have programs that are willing to step up to say, I want to help, right? I want to help, where can I help at? But we've been able to reduce the amount of homeless individuals here because we've had programs that have been successful, like Saved by Grace. The idea is that if we don't have these programs, then what happens? Because this is an attractive area. This whole area is attractive. I can tell you right now that the idea that other communities bring people in this community is true. It happens. And it happens in every community where individuals feel like that the next community can then do it. But the idea is most communities don't have the resources to then help these individuals who are here. And a lot of these folks that they're actually helping are actually people from this community. They're people who've had hardships. They're people who've just been down and out and just need a hand up. So ideally, where you may see a situation, you may not see the success they've had, but I will tell you that with their help, as an agency and as a collective, we've been able to reduce homeless. And we have about 25 players within this community. We not only meet with the city and county consistently to talk about homelessness and how that looks, but they're also part of our plan to reduce homelessness in this community, which has been working. It has been working. So if you take that 330 and now reduce to 130, then you see that there is something working that's valuable in this community. And so ideally, when you don't have programs like these other communities, you have an influx because it's going to happen. Homelessness will come no matter what. It will be in your community, and he's right. You may not see it now, but you may see it later. But the idea is to have programs that can address that. And that's what we do. We address homelessness, not just for individuals, but for families that you don't see, right? And for youth that you don't see. So we're able to track and help and assist, and they're a big part of that fabric. And they help with that idea of pushing this service center and making sure that this area is very successful. And I will tell you, this area is kind of a model for the state because of the high numbers back in 2017 and 2018, the state recognized it. They actually got recognized by the state, Department of Community Affairs, about 2-3 years ago, as being one of the greatest programs in the area to just do things just based on no funding. And so, so one of their components is making sure that they help individuals and then push them into a permanent housing or opportunity. And all this, that's the whole system. The whole system works in that capacity. So therefore, if they don't have the ability to provide the resource, they work within a network. And that network helps figure out where that resource can be obtained from. So they're not alone in this whole approach. They work systematically with other agencies that work with homelessness, and we all meet and talk about what homelessness is. I manage all the homeless coalitions for Region 5 as well.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
It's Mr. Clark, right?
It is.
Jeffrey Clark. I have a personal question for you.
Sure.
Did you say homelessness in this community is rising or lowering?
It's lowering.
It
It's
is
lowering
actually
because of the
lowering?
programs. It's because of the programs that we have that are working progressively. There's an increase in some homelessness, but it's a different.
Who do you work with, Mr. Clark?
I work with Safe Harbor, but I manage the coordinated entry system.
Okay.
For HUD.
And you said other communities bring their homeless to us?
So it's a conversation that cities and counties have between what is transported to communities. And so what you see, because you talked about the 95 corridor, the 95 and how that plays a role in it, the opportunity for individuals to come, it happens everywhere. And so people are coming, regardless of that, whether they're being brought here or whether they're here or whether they've been here before. You're going to see that there's people being brought here, whether they're coming for court and they don't leave, or they're just coming for anything, because we're very close to the highway.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clark.
Yeah. So in most cases, you're going to see an influx.
Yes, sir.
But we've been able to reduce a lot of that homelessness, particularly with this agency, because they've been focusing on that particular component. And so
Okay.
we've seen a better opportunity for those men who are in that. And I have personally put men in their program who've been very successful and have had jobs through our coordinated entry system.
Mr.
and
Clark,
been
we're out of
successful.
time.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Next.
You've got 2 minutes left. You let them speak if you want. You have 2
Yeah.
minutes left.
My name is Alan Ackridge. I'm the senior pastor at St. Mark's Episcopal Church downtown. If you're familiar with St. Mark's Towers, then you've seen that we've been involved in housing those on the margins for more than 40 years. In addition, our thrift store, Hello Goodbye, will celebrate having donated more than $2 million to other people's nonprofits, many of whom I know are connected in this room. We strongly support the work being done by Saved by Grace, because it's not enough just to oppose problems that we have. We've got to be willing to be part of the solution. I want to begin by saying the facility in question I've heard mentioned is already zoned for potential day services. Let me add, every single Christian church, every single church, every synagogue in this county, if it's a good one, is providing walk-up day services on some level or another. I must admit that many of my peers don't screen nearly as rigorously as Saved by Grace. It is a false argument to say that the people in this room and at the county commission or the MP do not care. We know that you do. The challenge is finding a way forward. It is an equally false argument to say that all the homeless persons can be painted with one brush. We don't want to paint all of them with one brush. We are aiming specifically at those who can be helped. And I would encourage us to not make this a binary argument. I know that this group of people has 4 ways they can decide. It's not an either or. I would suggest it's possible for us to find a way forward to give these people a chance to prove what their track record already shows. And if they are unable to prove that out for you, then make a decision. But the answer should not be no. Now what's the question? I would say their track record and their heart and their success rate and the problems we have warrant an opportunity to give them a provisional chance. My name is Alan Ackridge, and I support the resolution.
Next.
My name is Todd Klein, Chairman Boatwright. Thank you for the chance to speak here. I'll be very brief. I know I'm at the end of the time here. I certainly can't restate anything that's already been said any better, especially my wife and my son. That's, you know, they said it all in my, I can't say anything better than they did. I would just say, you know, as an engineer, I try to break things down. Administratively, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't a viable project or rezoning. We wouldn't even be here. Good county staff here wouldn't have brought it forward for you to consider. Functionally, it's a fantastic location for these guys. I personally witnessed these guys on bicycles riding, you know, 5 miles one way to work. You know, I mean, the dedication they have, I mean, personally seen this. They have the vehicle facility to track around, but the drive they have, some of these guys, you know, it's a beautiful facility, beautiful property. It just needs a little bit of improvement. Selfishly, I'm with the Joint Water Sewer Commission. I'd love to have a customer too tied in, and we're helping them with that if it works out. But, you know, lastly, I'll say just please focus on the successes. I know there's always going to be the questions, and I totally understand the concerns that have been brought forward, you know, by the people who live in the neighborhoods and surrounding areas like that. I totally understand that. But the fact is, you know, the homeless folks are going to be there regardless. Give these folks a chance to, you know, catch the couple percent that you can snag and change their lives and give a chance to do something better and be a, you know, bring them back in the community. You know, lastly, that's all I've really got to say, but I thank you for consideration. I also thank you for your service. So, humbly submitted. Thank you. Todd Klein.
Thank you. Okay, that wraps up the in favor portion. Is anyone else like to speak in favor? Okay, hear none, seeing none. All the folks that would like to speak in opposition of this item number, please step forward. Remember, folks, we only have 30 minutes total, 5 minutes per speaker. Okay, Mr. Bailey, let's have it.
My name is Gary Bailey. I was born and raised in Glynn County. I built my forever home in 2002 in Pickett Landing back on the marsh on Turtle River. I don't have a single problem with the Saved by Grace mission statement. I think it's a wonderful thing. I don't think there's a person in this room who has a problem with it. That being said, could we please bring up the plat that showed the first aerial photo of the different colors?
Ms. Leaf will get it, yes.
Okay.
Is that it, Mr. Bailey?
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. As you can see in the purple, this is a large trailer park area. Back across the street from that is all Ellis Point and other subdivisions. There's hundreds and hundreds of houses throughout there. Down at the bottom is Pickett Landing. There's plenty of homes in there, and there's a lot of vacant land that backs up to this property. Now, the issue, there's a lot of issues that I have, but the biggest issue that I have is that where this building is located, within a block and a half in either direction, there are at least 4 buses that drop off from preschool to high school, pick them up and drop them off every single day. Majority of these students that get off walk to their residence, to the trailer park, through the woods to go into Ellis Point. That concerns me. That's every school day, there's 3 or 4 school buses for different schools in the area to accommodate different age groups. Every one of them. That concerns me. The other thing, I'm not comparing apples to apples. when I speak of downtown bus station. I know there's a big difference, big difference. But what is similar is the seed. That to me is the same. Now, what happened downtown turned out to be a disaster. It started as a very noble, very good concept. Even with the police station being 2 blocks away, there was crime all the time. That crime was against adults because there's mostly adults downtown, business people. That's where the crime was committed against adults. If something goes haywire here, the majority of the crime is going to be against kids. That is my biggest concern. That being said, I hope you turn this down, and if you don't, and just one thing goes haywire, just one thing, and it happens to a kid, it's on your hands.
Sir, please state your name.
My name is Gary Bailey.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey, would you tell us your address, please?
165 Mainland Drive.
Thank you.
My name's Jeff Morgan. I live at 403 West Shore Drive in Ellis Point. I'm here today. I live 0.5 miles away from this entrance to this place. Come August, be 60 years ago, I was born and I was raised in a 176 Glendale Circle, which is 2.1 miles from my house today, which sits in the northbound lane of I-95 that we had to leave in 1968 because they were bringing the highway through. So what I'm saying, I've lived in this area for the most of my life. For the last 23 years, I've been in Ellis Point at West Shore Drive. And so what I have today is making the former church a homeless shelter will invite people who have no attachment or commitment to the community to enter the community and act irresponsibly. It's fairly well known that crime rates increase in areas where shelters are put in place. For example, when the well was on Gloucester Street downtown, it caused tremendous trouble, including fighting, rapes, shootings, and stabbings of innocent members of the community. I invite each and every one of you to review the local law enforcement's volume of responses to the incidents in the area of the well. This is facts right here, while it was in operation. So in 2018, there was 294 incidents. They're all right here. 2019, they called the law 312 times. It's right here. In 2020, they called the law for incidents 624 times. This is what comes with this kind of stuff. And in 2021, 375 instances. In 2022, 524 facts, instances right here. And then for the 3.5 months when they closed it in April of 2023, they had 163 calls. All those calls are in these 75 pages. All these pages have what took place, what the call was for, and if you look on all 75 pages, they've got one address, the Homeless Day Shelter. Every single page, every incident. In these incidents, I just named a few, it goes on and on. Sex offense, stabbing, rape, fight, theft, entering autos, damage to property, a person with a gun, robbery, assault and battery, burglary, death investigation. I'm like the gentleman before me. I think these are good people. They've got good intentions. I just think the location of where I live is not the place to do it. It seems like to me they've got a lot of help. I hear the word Sea Island a lot. There's some Sea Island folks in here. Maybe Sea Island could help them find a place over there by Sea Island somewhere. And again, I feel their heart. I think they're true to what they're saying.
One minute, Mr. Morgan. Folks, we can't have outbursts, okay? For or against, we can't do that. And it won't be tolerated any longer. It happened that time. I don't think I advise folks not to outburst, but that's not appropriate.
Well, I'm passionate about what I say because of the people from Ellis Point and our surrounding communities. We just don't feel like it's the appropriate place to have something like this. And there's plenty of other places. I think about Darien Outlet Mall. I heard one of these owners may be from Darien. The Darien Outlet Mall has been vacant for years. Somewhere like that that's not close to a residential neighborhood. You know, and at the end, in today's environment, we're flooded with illegal immigrants who are coming across the border and they're being transported throughout the country. There's no way to keep track of who might come to this potential homeless shelter. It would not just provide food and a bed and a shower, these people, but also a view of the close-by neighborhoods. In the proximity is Ellis Point, Pickett Landing, Dees Drive, where I'm sure loitering at Ellis Point, we have a county public park at the end of my road where I'm sure loitering and mischievous behavior will take place. Everybody starts these things with a set of rules, but we've always broke the rules from school right on up, and that's what this brings with it. Please take into consideration the families with the small children that live nearby in our community and they visit the park for the playground. I feel like this would be an escape route, the park for these homeless people. All we have to do is look around our country, or better yet, our own city, our own county, and see that the homeless will eventually, they'll build their own tent cities and they'll become a permanent fixture in and around existing homes in our neighborhoods.
Mr. Morgan, I'm sorry, sir, your time's up. If very briefly, if you would close, I'd greatly appreciate it.
This will drive down the residents' property values and increase the risk of harm to a law-abiding, tax-paying citizens in our area. Also, the reality is that more drug use will be introduced into the community. The homeless are in large part either mentally ill or drug addicts. These people are not paying taxes. They can't afford to live in our community, but yet they are being brought here. To be sure, if you build it, they will come. Opening a shelter here.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Ma'am, I'm running this meeting, and let me tell you, I allowed a bunch of people that spoke in favor to speak over, so I don't appreciate you doing that. Okay, thank you so much.
My name is Gary Altman. I've lived in this community my whole life. I moved into Glendale when I was a little boy. I've seen a lot of changes. The worst thing that has ever happened to our community is when we did a sidewalk from downtown out into that area. Everything moves down that sidewalk. It hadn't been but a month or two ago, I had a young man beat on my door, scared me to death. I saw him on my cameras. I went to the door. I cracked the door. I asked him, I said, "What can I do for you?" He tried to come in. Just luckily, I had my gun. I made him get off the porch. I called the police. He wouldn't leave. The police finally showed up, okay? Which, in a timely manner, he had already walked down the road. A few minutes later, they got a call. He was over at the hotel over there. All I know is this. I travel 341 all the time, going back and to all over, at night, whatever. But all I know is if you put a homeless shelter where it's at right now, all the homeless, which I call the walking dead, every one of them are on drugs. Behind my home, people call it the Slaughter Woods. There's 25 people living in the woods back there. I walk back there, it smells so bad anyway, it's just horrible. All I know is this, if you build it, they will fill it up and more will come. We've got, like the young man said earlier, about a corridor, I-95. I'm old enough to remember when you had hobos, and they love it when it's nice conditions. If the nicer you make it, we will have more come into this community, and we will be overrun. All I know is this. All the other communities, Savannah is one of the worst. And I got this on very good information. They bring them here daily. And that's all I have to say. But this right here, this daytime shelter mess, Lord have mercy, no telling what's going to bring in here. That's all I have to say.
Sir, Mr. Altman, would you tell us your address, sir?
I live at 408 West Howard Drive, Brunswick, Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Altman.
My name is Glynn, and I live at 356 Shore Drive in Ellis Point. I have lived there for 30 years. We have a petition that's signed by approximately 100 people from our neighborhood who are against the homeless shelter at our back door. I thought that the church came under the same commissioner that we have, but I just found out recently that the church that they're wanting to get rezoned comes under Commissioner Booker. And Mr. Booker has not been able to fix the problem with the homeless shelter on Altama. Mr. Pete Correll gave $1 million to the homeless shelter at the old Presbyterian Church to build a homeless shelter for veterans or whoever, I'm not sure. But that project has been going on for 3 years. They've lost vouchers, they've had money problems, they can't find paperwork. And so then the commissioner, Mr. Booker, from what I understand in the Brunswick News, has turned that over to the Brunswick Housing Authority, which he's on the Board of Commissioners. I see someone up there shaking their head.
That's not correct.
May not be. Maybe I don't know how to read. But I thought I read that in the Brunswick newspaper. So maybe after I speak, maybe someone can tell us if they found their vouchers and if that place is ready to open. But I feel like that Mr. Booker's plate is full and he can't take on another homeless shelter in his district until he gets this one on Altama completed. His plate is full. Saved by Grace, I know the applicant mentioned, I think when Mr. Boatwright asked about if they'd had any police calls, and she said maybe 2 or 3. I went to the Glynn County Police Department and got all the police reports, picked them up this afternoon. Someone from my neighborhood, I think, has all those reports, so you're welcome to get a copy of those if you'd like. They had over 100 calls that the Glynn County Police Department had to serve at that 186 Cornerstone, which is across from the Tractor Supply. Miss Donna and Miss Marie have to use the Glynn County Police Department to fix their problems they create. They get scared and call the Glynn County Police. You can read that on the 100 reports. When they say they close at a certain time, that doesn't mean that nobody's going to come up there. These people come up there 24/7. They're all times of the day and the night. Saved by Grace, when they rented at 186 Cornerstone across from Tractor Supply from the Rema Church, insurance for that church came up. And from what I read in the Jacksonville paper, that their policy was greatly increased, and they also had to carry some type of special terrorist insurance if they were going to let these men and ladies or whoever they had stay there overnight. And I think the church maybe could not afford it, or the ladies couldn't afford it, and so they asked them to move, so they had to leave. I think that's correct. Again, that was in the Jacksonville paper. Also, Glynn County, in my opinion, needs to shut down the methadone lab at 186 Cornerstone across from Tractor Supply. They supply methadone for drug withdrawal people. Documentaries have been shown on TV that show that these clinics are nothing but a feeding trough for drug addicts. The clinic is called Coastal Community Behavior Clinic. It's a cash cow for the 3 investors who own it. One may be a doctor. They take cash, they take vouchers, they take Medicare, and they take Medicaid.
Ms. No, we're here to discuss the homeless shelter on Black
I
Island.
understand, but it all fits in together. I'm sorry, I'm almost finished.
Yes, ma'am. We can't get off
Okay,
topic.
I understand. I'm sorry.
And Ms. No, a couple times you've made disparaging remarks about individuals. Remember that tomorrow or next week, we might pass these people in the grocery store, and we'd like to have a cordial rapport with them so you could say hello. So just, let's don't disparage anybody, and let's stay on topic, please, ma'am.
Okay, I
The topic is the
understand.
rezone on Blythe Island Highway for the church.
Okay. And please stop me if I say something I shouldn't say. But I do feel like that the homeless people don't pay taxes. It's a drain on the economy, the hospitals, the police department, and they scare off customers from businesses. And they have turned Exit 36 into a ghetto-looking place. It's a big problem for Sheriff Neil Jump. Our elected officials and board members have to set boundaries for Glynn County. The Golden Isles is a vacation
All right, Ms. No,
destination.
Ms. No, your time's up.
Thank
Just
you.
5 minutes. Thank you so much.
Hey, how are y'all doing? My name is Darrell Thomas. I live at 362 Shore Drive in Ellis Point. And first, thank y'all for listening to all this. And, you know, I commend Miss Howard for what she's doing in the ministry. I really do. But with all that being said, I'm just going to hit some bullet points, and I'm going to let it go. Like the man said first about the bus stops. We have children, large bus stops. I mean, 15, 20 head of kids out there at any given time. And I mean, I think that foreseeable, there's no infrastructure as far as sidewalks, lighting, crosswalks, anything on 303 right there. The only thing that the most recent traffic study I could find about Highway 303 was from 2010 that the Georgia DOT did. And it was 19,800 trips then. This is 14 years later. All the development down at exit 29, those people coming through, it's a thoroughfare. So I would have to spitball and guess, so I'm not even gonna do that. But 19,800 trips in 2010. So I'm assuming that's grown exponentially.
40,000 plus.
Okay, so with that being said, we don't have any really true ingress, egress. I think that's gonna present problems about coming in and picking up and leaving. I'm also concerned about the walk-ups and when they depart, you know, the conflicts. If they don't want to comply with the rules of her contract, they're going to just walk off. If she picks up the walk-ups at point A and they're there and they want to go over here, they're not going to get back on the bus or the car and go back to point A. They're going to say, I'll just walk over yonder. And so when that happens, they're going to go beeline to Dee's Drive, because anybody that's not familiar with the logistics, 303 runs up, 341 runs this way, Ellis Point, Dee's Drive, Lake Drive's over here. So if they're going to leave and they want to go back to 95, just like I think Commissioner Boatright addressed, they're not going to walk that 1.85 miles. They're going to cut through Dee's Drive, and they're going to hit the high tension lines, walk through there, come out Anderson Circle, and walk out by the Jiffy Lube, and they're going to cut about a mile off their trip. And I think that when they do that, and I'm not talking about her men in the program. I'm talking about the walk-ups, the daily people that come for a bath, for a sandwich, or whatever goes on there. Those are the ones that they're not in that program for a reason, y'all. There was when all these people came up here and spoke in favor, I respect each and every one of them. And I think you're doing a wonderful thing. But there's a bunch of what-ifs that come into play. There is a tremendous amount of what-ifs. What if one of them leaves out of there? He's uptight about not being allowed in her program. He didn't get his sandwich, whatever happens. I know that sounds silly, but he walks through there and he walks through a neighborhood and he sees one of our residents walking their dog. I mean, things can go sideways. And again, let me reiterate, I'm not speaking about her men. I'm talking about the walk-up traffic. And the main concern I have, and I hate to beat this horse because everybody has, what is this organization going to do for the tax roll? We've got 142 plus or minus 4 residents in Ellis Point. I didn't count the ones in Pickett Landing or on Dees Drive or on Lake Drive. All those are on the tax roll. We support infrastructure. We support what goes on in the maintenance of this county each and every day. That neighborhood started in 1955. I challenge anybody in this room to give me 3 other neighborhoods that are that old. Hey, and we all care about each other and we care about our places. I mean, I have no objection to what they're doing. I just don't think it's the proper spot for it. I commend them for what they're doing, but I do not think that's the proper spot for this. I do not. I say vote no. I'm against it, and I have nothing against them. I have love in my heart for them. They're doing a wonderful thing for the community and for these people. But I'm telling you right now, I've been in Ellis Point for 23 years, just like Jeff Morgan has. I mean, me and my wife, we raised our boys. Our son, our grandchildren live across the street from us. I mean, there's several families that have their families that live there. That's how a neighborhood becomes viable and stays viable. And that's all I have for y'all. Thank you very much. Darrell Thomas.
Thank you so much.
Hello. My name is Sue Wainwright, and I live at 387 West Shore Drive in Ellis Point. I hope I don't have to duplicate what some people have already said, but we're in opposition against, we're not against Saved by Grace. We're against where they want to put their facility, or to use this facility. We have several reasons why. The safety for myself, my family, and my neighbors. There'll always be homeless people. Remember that. There are always going to be homeless people who are not accepted due to drug, mental, and alcohol issues. And sometimes they'll camp out in facilities near woods or on other people's property. They'll roam the neighborhoods. We've already had people roaming our neighborhoods, and we don't even have a homeless shelter out there yet because they come off of 341. And not all homeless people are bad. I have to commend the people that wants to do that handle Saved by Grace. That's a great thing. But it's just our community is kind of populated in there, and we have some other reasons why. We have a lot of single women and widows that live in our neighborhood. I've lived out there 30 years. And through the years, we've lost, women have lost their husbands, and they still want to live in Ellis Point. And I think that some of them had some issues with people roaming in their yards off of 341. They'll cut through 341 and go through the neighborhood. There's been stuff stolen in our neighborhood. And people have been, found in people's yards that were, just out of it in drugs, mostly. But anyway, Highway 341 is another issue. They like to roam 341. There's no place for them to walk. There's no sidewalk at all. It's a 2-lane highway with no sidewalks and deep ditches. And there's a lot of traffic. It is very hard for us to get out of our community in the mornings and in the afternoons. We are almost landlocked in there because we live right on the end of West Shore Drive, the very first house on West Shore Drive. And it's not about the homeless that you can control, but it's about the homeless you can't control. And that is a concern I have, is that, they can only control the people that are in the program. But if they let them out, where are they going to go? And I do have some friends that live in River Ridge. And matter of fact, over a year ago, I had a friend that she lived alone, and she lived off of a little road off the main road, River Ridge, and she said that she was a widow, she's a widow, and she was by herself, and someone roamed down in her road, and she was scared to death. And then if they couldn't get into the facility, like after hours, like maybe they couldn't get their shower or they got their shower, the people that weren't in the 14 people that are in the program, they would camp out behind it, and it would just be trashed in the woods where they had put up their camp. And they've sent me photos of it, and it hasn't been too long ago, actually. So anyway, I just think that this is not a very good place. We all talked about the mobile home parks and the children. They're getting on and off the bus. And you know, I think Glynn said, and she mentioned about the homeless place over on the Veterans. We have the Veterans Homeless Place on G Street. We have the homeless place over on Alabama Avenue, but it's not being used. Maybe they could see about using that facility. It's already ready to use. I don't know what the problem is, but we just don't want it in our community. So, we're beginning to look like that we want homeless people in our community, because all these other counties, they'll just simply drop people off. They'll come and drop them off and let us have to take care of them. So I believe that Saved by Grace is doing a great thing, but I think that maybe other people need to help them find another facility that is not in or near a community. There are 157 homes in our community, just Ellis Point and Anderson Estates. So that's roughly 325 people. We all pay taxes. The Highway 303 that facility is nonprofit, and they don't pay any taxes. Are they going to pay taxes?
Ms.
Probably
Wainwright,
not.
wrap it up for me, please,
Okay.
ma'am. The time's allotted.
So we asked that the planning board to deny the request and to try to help them find another place in the county for these people. And thank you for your time.
Again, state your name and your address, Ms. Wainwright.
Sue Wainwright, 387 West Shore Drive.
Thank you so much.
My name is Lindsay Baker, 174 Pickett Landing Drive. My family and I have lived there for just under 4 years now. My 6-year-old son and I like to play and ride bikes throughout the neighborhood and are very familiar with the wooded lots between the back of the church and our neighborhood. There is a clearly walked trail from behind the church directly into the front yard of one of my neighbor's houses. And with that 8-foot privacy fence up and across the back that they're proposing, how are they going to patrol the woods behind that privacy fence regularly for encampments that may develop back there? It's going to be very difficult for their not fully staffed, non-24/7 security guards to check that area behind the 8-foot privacy fence. Like Mr. Gary said, and I've counted, there are 14 times during the school year, each day, the school bus stops within 500 feet of the front of that building to take children on the bus and drop them off the bus. There are no sidewalks on either side of 303, and that is one of the busiest intersections in Glynn County, 341 and 303. The increased foot traffic that's going to be brought, the bicycles, there's no bike paths. It is going to force people who are walking up for services, even the men who will be staying there as tenants, will have to walk. It's going to be forced into people's yards, into the neighborhoods to avoid being hit by cars. It's not safe for them. It's not safe for the drivers that already drive there. Sorry, I was so rushed. Let's see. It's the tenants that will be staying there. They're going to bring around people who are coming in for the walk-in services. That will increase the number of walk-ins. They will have friends, people who know them, who will hear by word of mouth what is offered there. So the foot traffic will probably be more than the security staff that they have on property per day to handle. I don't know how many staff members they have in the building total per day, but they're increasing from 14 beds to 29 beds. And with the double the number of tenants, is that going to double the number of calls to the police? They've had over 100, is what I believe somebody said, reports pulled just for the previous location at Cornerstone. Have they increased staff? And they're going to be driving these men to their interviews and jobs and things with 2 vehicles and 1 transport from Sea Island? That's not going to be feasible. I just don't believe that that facility increased to that number of tenants is going to be functional not only for them as a nonprofit, but for the surrounding community, it's just not viable. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. State your name and your address.
Lindsay Baker, 174 Pickett Landing Drive.
Thank you so much. Last but not least.
Steve Thompson, 352 Shore Drive, Ellis Point. It's gonna be tough for me to get up here because everybody's already said what needs to be said. We're for y'all 100%. We're not for you.
Mr. Thompson, please address us.
Oh, address y'all?
Yes, sir. Please address us.
I got you. Now we got the rules. We're not against what they're doing. We're against their choice of facilities. If y'all can put the map up there, put the map up there, please.
Which, that map, Mr.
No,
Thompson?
the map, the GIS map of the housing,
Okay, Ms. Leaf is doing that for us.
that one. Just a little information. I've been in that corner right there for 66 years. I lived in Ellis Point for 24 years. There's people in this room that has lived in Ellis Point for 60 years. When somebody said they're going to invest $2 million in this piece of property, I guarantee the people in Ellis Point has invested well more than $2 million in our project, in our neighborhood. I challenge anybody that wants to ride through Ellis Point. It's one of the cleanest neighborhoods in Brunswick, Georgia, because of the fine people that live there and respect their neighborhood, respect their property. And I'm all for that. Anderson Drive, Dees Drive, there's a bunch of nice houses going on Dees Drive now. We're just not in favor of putting something like this that has a potential, even with the mobile homes, even with Ellis Point, Pickett Landing, Watkins Circle. We don't want them to destroy our neighborhood that all of us has worked so hard, and I ain't talking about 5 years. There's people in this room that's lived there 60 years. We don't want anybody to come in and destroy our neighborhood because we work so hard to keep it pristine and as good as we can. They've already mentioned elderly ladies, they've mentioned widows, they've mentioned, I guess I'll go in the old part now. But anyway, I just got a couple little facts right here that somebody might want to hear. Right here in that little map right there, there's 5 churches. All these churches have children's programs. There's one church that even has a school. 3 major school bus stops. Everybody's already said that. Approximately in there, 350 homes. Excluding the mobile home parks, all those people are taxpayers. And the taxes I pay, I guarantee it'll cover 2 million, 3 million, 4 million easy. I can promise you that. In this same area, in that same little square right there are 5 stores that you can buy beer or wine. That same little map right there, there's a liquor store. So you can get anything in there you want. Beer, wine, liquor, it don't matter. There's a drugstore, you know. There's no street lights. There's no sidewalks, deep ditches. And Mr. Higgins has already said, actually it's 957 foot of sewage that is going to have to be ran at the taxpayer expenses. There are plenty of other places in Glynn County. I read their bio, they want to move to Jessup, they want to move to McIntosh. There is a whole lot better places that could be used beside that place right there. And with that being said, I do have a catalog from the Glynn County Police that paints a whole different picture than what we were told tonight. So if anybody wants to look at it, come over and ask me nicely and I'll let you look at it. But before then, there's a lot of truth right here. And if, does anybody remember the old Sears Christmas catalog? It's just about that big. And all of us got Cornerstone. All of us got Saved by Grace. And a lot of it happened right there on 341. With that being said, thank y'all. Vote no for the simple reason that it seems like Saved by Grace is being a little selfish when they want to move in on our neighborhood. They already know the troubles that comes with them and go ruin our neighborhood. That's all I got to say.
Mr. Thompson, state your name and your address again for us, please.
Steve Thompson, 352 Shore Drive.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Anybody else like to speak in favor of this item? Okay, thank.
That's closed.
You said favor.
Say that again?
You did say favor, it's closed.
Oh, you like, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It's against, it's in opposition, not in favor.
I'm in opposition of it even being there.
Okay, sir.
But what I want to point out is, you got Picket Landing back here, okay? My name is Jake Gordon, okay?
Sir, hang on one second.
Okay.
Would you please tell us your name and your address?
That's what I'm fixing to do.
Yes, sir.
I built my home in 1976. I grew up out there. Ellis Point, I know all about that area out there. But you got Picket Landing back here.
Sir, I hate to keep interrupting you. Will you please tell us your name and your address?
Okay.
Right.
My name is Jake Gordon.
Yes, sir.
I live at 400 West Shore Drive.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Gordon.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
But you've got Picket Landing here, and you talked about it being a wooded area already behind it. There's lots in there that if I was a person purchasing property in Glynn County, and that building was sitting there, that eliminates me buying property right there, okay? Not only that, you go right there beside that, and you look at the trailer park that's sitting there, and how many kids are in that trailer park. And you can't tell me, because I have lived there long enough to watch what goes on in Ellis Point. I've seen the traffic that has come through our neighborhood from 341. And they're homeless people. Right down at the end of the street where I live at, there's a park there. I don't know how many times we've had to call the Glynn County Police to come out there and get the drugs moved from out down there. Not only that, when you have walk-up people coming up there, they're going to come in, they don't use the facilities, they're going to go out and tell their friends, hey, nice place, go over there and do your thing. Then whenever they come out, they're not going to go away, they don't go through our neighborhoods, because we had it up there where on 341, there is an oil change service there. There's a wooded area in that area right there at one time. We dealt with some of those people coming into our neighborhood from that area there. So you're talking about children, you're talking about property values, you're talking about drugs. These are the things that we don't want in our community. And I've been there since 1976, and I can tell you now, I value my neighbors all the way down to 341. I buy my gas at Parker's most times. I'm not advertising for Parker's by any means, but what I'm saying is that I've seen people down there that are homeless. I've seen them sitting on the sidewalks. I've seen them walking up and down 341. I've seen them cut over into Anderson Circle. I know what I'm talking about. So y'all need to think long and hard before you allow this building to be put in there and allow this. Now,
Mr. Gordon.
What y'all are doing,
Mr. Gordon.
I just want to thank them, okay?
Please
That's all I wanted
address
to do.
us. Please address us.
Okay.
Yes.
I would like to thank them for what they're doing. I don't have a problem with them helping the homeless, and there is a better place to do it than right there, and I commend them for what they are doing, okay? And
Yes,
I
sir.
thank you for your time, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Okay. Anyone else in opposition?
That's it.
We're done?
Yeah.
Up with time?
Yes. You're at 37 and a half minutes.
All right. All right, folks, we're going to close the public hearing portion. And commissioners, do we have any questions for staff or the applicant?
I think in fairness to the applicant, if there was anything said that she would like to address, as we've done in the past, would be.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I've had a little note taker the whole time. I think one of the things that I heard kind of across the board was fear. I feel like Saved by Grace, as I've said before, safety is priority. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to work with the neighborhoods around and the businesses also. And I want to also say, because like I said, most of the things that I heard was about fear and bus stops and children. All those bad things can also happen at Walmart. And so we, like I said before, we pride ourselves in being a safe place and to be a good neighbor. I gave my phone number out earlier to the commission. I'll read it out again if anyone wants to take it down. If there's ever an issue, if there's someone walking through a neighborhood and you see someone, give me a call. Same thing with the businesses. My number is 912-266-3459. Again, my name is Donna Howard. I'm the Executive Director for Saved by Grace. That is my personal cell phone number, and it stays on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes. So. Have any more
Anybody
questions
have
for me?
anything to say? Because I have a couple things to say if nobody's.
I would just like to
Go
ask
ahead, sir.
Ms. Howard, if you don't mind, could you repeat that number for me, please?
Absolutely, yes, sir. It's 912-266-3459.
All right. Anybody?
I was, I think, want to say that this is probably the hardest
Absolutely.
application since
My
I've been
hands and my
on.
feet are sweating over this.
Yeah, and I know we're not here about us, and I think our job is to look at what is the change in use, and how does that align with all the guidelines that we have. And when there's really tough decisions like this, because there's a lot of great people on both sides of this issue, I try to narrow my focus, and that sometimes that's what we have to do in this position, just like county commissioners do and folks do. So really the change of use is the nighttime shelter.
Correct.
Currently today, someone could be in that building providing the day services, and I would ask county staff to correct me if I'm wrong about that. And so really I think the question before me anyways is the nighttime use, adding that use, the issue, or is it the existing allowed use under the zoning or the PD tax that any occupant of that facility could do now? And I could make an argument in my head that, Saved by Grace isn't gonna go there unless they can do the nighttime piece, but I'm not sure that that's my role here. My role is to look at, is the issue the nighttime piece? And a lot of people have said it's not everybody has said that's not the issue for them. But I think a greater issue for me, and our attorney loves when I bring stuff like this up, is what if it's not saved by grace? What if we change this zoning and Saved by Grace, you know, I think there's a lot of good nonprofit volunteers. You know, you're always one board of directors, set of board of directors away from a different mission, right? You don't want that to happen, but you know, what if it's not Saved by Grace? We've opened up this zoning to any homeless shelter. And while we were sitting here, I just want to share this. I texted Commissioner Rafalski, which he'll so appreciate that I bring this up. And I think the solution that's missing in Glynn County, it was missing in the city, and the city has worked to fix that, is we don't have a homeless shelter ordinance that deals with licensing and permitting. But I know this community can get there. We got there. This is the same issue, believe it or not, with short-term rentals. It took us a while to get there, to hold the operator responsible for individual transit, individual behavior, and it was a change. It's the only ordinance in Glynn County that does that besides the liquor license ordinance. And this is a complex issue, and we don't know I don't know how to fix it. I ran United Way for 5 years. I have no idea how to fix it, but y'all are trying to, and you've got a track record. I say that saying, I have no idea how I'm gonna vote, but that's how I look at this issue. And I hear you know, I have vacillated back and forth. Y'all, there's a lot of passion on both sides, and I don't know that there's a perfect answer, but that is how I am looking at the issue.
Okay.
And so my point to the county attorney, when he loves, there's really nothing we can do, Mr. Attorney, that limits having a conditional provision in the PD text that it has the operator of the use tied to it. Correct. Okay.
Okay. Commissioner New, is that it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Any other questions? Ms. Howard?
Yes, sir.
I guess it's my turn.
Okay.
First of all, I want to commend you. I mean, I just want to give you a heartfelt thanks. So many people says thank you in our community to you, from our community. And it's really appreciated. And I really do believe in your heart, in all your folks' heart, that it's in the right place. There was a couple things that really, when I walked in here, I had no idea what questions I was going to ask or how I was going to ask them. But, you know, God puts people in your life, puts people in places to help you make decisions. And that little silver-haired lady that got in the elevator with me, she knew, I have no idea. And like I said, I've scanned this audience to find her, and I haven't seen her. But she said, Mr. Boatwright, I think she said, Mr. Boatwright, I know you. And I said, yes, ma'am, I am Mr. Boatwright. And then she said, I had to leave my home in River Ridge and move to Pickett Landing because of Saved by Grace. And when I ask you what you would say about that, you basically gave me a shoulder shrug. You didn't say, I would tell her, I'm sorry. You didn't say anything as well. And that said volumes to me. And then the second question that I ask you, if you could explain how River Ridge's issues were alleviated when you left that area, and you couldn't give me you really didn't give me any response to that at all. And with that being said, I'll commit to you right now. Well, let me say this. I don't think this is the right location for this facility with the neighborhoods and the children and the schools. And 303 is just not equipped for this kind of facility. So I'll go ahead and tell you, I'm going to vote no for this. But I will commit to you my family. I will help you. My wife will help you. My family will help you find a spot, because I think what you are doing, I feel in my heart what you are doing is good. But that doesn't make that spot the right one for our community, for your for what you're doing. And when I get an issue that's dear to my heart, I'll stick a poker to every one of our county commissioners. I'll do anything I can to help you to get the facility that you need, ma'am. And I just want you to know, I'm not against Donna Howard, okay? I think what you're doing is great. It's godly, okay? And if we believe in Jesus, if we believe in our Savior, Jesus, we all have the need, the want, and the desire to help people that are less fortunate than us. But one sticking point for me, and I'm not even going to ask you if you would do it, is what everybody said so eloquently in here, especially Mr. Thomas. I wish I could speak as eloquently as Mr. Thomas. He's a lot uglier than I am, but he speaks so much better than I do. We all can't have everything. But he brought up the point of the people walking through, the people coming in and out of these neighborhoods. You can't control it. I can't control it. The Glynn County Police can't even control it. And that is an issue for me. Just the day shelter part is the issue for me. And like I said, I think that if we all got our minds together, this is not an issue that Donna Howard's going to solve or Neil Boatwright's going to solve, but our whole community needs to solve this issue. From our county attorney to a county administrator to every taxpayer in this community has a responsibility to help you. And you have touched my heart tonight, and like I said, we're going to help you, okay? But I just want you to know, I'm not going to vote for this rezone.
Yes, sir.
And I'm only one vote. What my other commissioners do is up to them, and I wouldn't advise any of them how to vote. I want them to vote their conscience.
Yes, sir.
And again, I just want to tell you, thank you so much. Okay? All right, commissioners. Any other questions for Ms. Howard? Okay. All right. Was any discussion? Okay. Would we like to take a vote? Would we like to take a motion, a vote?
I offer a motion to approve, can you put that up there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I offer a motion to recommend, approval of ZM 2411 as presented.
Okay, I need a second, commissioners.
I'll second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. All in favor? Okay, all opposed? Okay, 3-3. It fails.
Fails, yep.
The motion fails, Mr. Chairman, but no action was taken by that vote. So you have taken no action as of yet.
Okay, so we can't send that to the county commission?
You cannot. It takes 4 affirmative votes, one way or another, to send
send it
them to the county commission. Correct.
I was hoping you would say it's okay. I already knew that. Thank you so much. All right, commissioners, can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, if I might, there is one of us that has said publicly on other committees that there's such a thing that we face as unintended consequences. And while I didn't necessarily agree with some of the messages that were given by the homeowners out in Ellis Point and Dees Drive, I believe in what they were saying. I believe that their property values will be affected by this. I believe that there's a potential for the crime rate to increase. I think there's an element that is not good for that neighborhood, and that is the reason that I voted against the motion to approve. I support what Saved by Grace is doing. I don't think there's anybody in this room that doesn't. I'm just convinced that this is not the right location. And for that reason, I will make a motion to deny ZM 2411 as presented.
I'll second that motion. Okay, commissioners, any discussion? All in favor?
Wait a minute, did you have something to say?
I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Yeah, no, I don't know what I think the challenge for me, just speaking to the commissioners, is I don't know that there's there's not gonna be very many places where it does work. I mean, where you don't have some of the very same issues. So I'm trying to. It's just tough, and I think, I mean, just me talking to the commissioners, that you try to weigh, if you believe Saved by Grace does good work, which I think most people in the room have said that, and their mission is to reduce homelessness, and that's a true issue and a difficult issue in our neighborhood, I mean, in our community, as it is many others, but it's hard. I mean, I'm a real estate agent, and I, definitely can see if this does have a negative piece that comes with it, and I entered here very concerned about the foot traffic that could be increased through some residential areas. But, if you believe they're doing good work, they're reducing homelessness, that's our goal. These neighborhoods and areas are already experiencing homelessness. I challenge one of y'all to tell me, where's the better location?
That's as a community, Commissioner New, as a community, that's what we need to find out to get a consensus. And
But
I would like to add this to your conversation.
Can I weigh in with that? Because I also agree with what Missy has brought up. And these people have already experienced, I mean, the homeless people are everywhere. And they are walking through neighborhoods already. I don't believe that, and yet this gentleman tells us with some information he had that the homeless population has decreased here. So if these people are walking through neighborhoods, they've been walking through neighborhoods, they're gonna continue to walk through neighborhoods. And I believe that we have one opportunity here to utilize what these people are doing to save people and to take the homeless to homed people is what I think, where they're homeless to successful. That's how I feel about it.
All right, may I elaborate on everything that's been said here so far? In another lifetime, my wife and my family sent me to college. I'm a registered x-ray technologist, and I have over 15 years experience working at Camden Medical Center. And I'm certified in CAT scans and MRIs. And I worked a lot with homeless people coming through the emergency rooms. And I would say, I'm not a psychologist, I'm just a low-level x-ray technologist, but I would say at least 80% of these people are what we call, in the medical profession, non-conforming folks. Okay? People may not like it, people may not say, oh, but that's a fact. So we've got people that don't listen to instructions, they don't listen to the law, They want to do drugs, they want to do whatever it is, and there's a reason why. Now, some of them just have outright mental issues, but there's a reason why they're in the position they're in. And I just don't think it's right to move a facility into a neighborhood that's existing, that's tax-paying folks, productive individuals. Now, I'm not disparaging what they do. I'm just talking about, we know from the well downtown what this type facility, when you build it, they will come by the droves, and it is going to create an issue for the people in this area, in this community. And it's going to create an issue for our local hospital. There's counties bringing people in. I've heard people's busing folks in. I don't have any way to prove that, but I've heard that. And it taxes our local hospital. It taxes our citizens. Our citizens have to pay for this. And with that being said, again, I have a motion and a second. And is there any more discussion? Mr. Dawson?
Well, yes, Chairman, I would like to just have just a couple minutes just to share my thoughts. And I can appreciate everything that has been expressed up until this point. And I have to say that I totally agree with the mission of Saved by Grace. I think it's a wonderful thing. I like to commend Ms. Howard and her assistant director for the job that they do. And I would also like to commend the tremendous amount of support that came out tonight just to support her in this cause. I think that was wonderful. I guess for me, I know the homeless is an issue everywhere. We can't get away from the homeless. So I know that's an issue. But for me, the reason why I would have to vote no, and it's a difficult decision for me because I want to support Saved by Grace. And I was moved by some of the comments that from the ones who came out to support Saved by Grace. But the sticking point for me is the location being so close to the bus stops. And I hate to bring this up because I think it was really a difficult thing for our community, but I remember, and not saying that this has anything to do with the nonprofit, but I think back to that time when we had to endure and go through that situation with Christopher Barrios in our community. And that was a tough thing for me, and I know it was a tough thing for our community. And just the mere fact that this location is so close to the bus stops, the trailer park, where there are a lot of children, that's an issue for me. And until I support the mission, but I just don't know whether that's a good fit, because of the bus stop, the trailer park, and the number of children that will be close proximity to this facility. And I do know that what you're doing as far as trying to help with transitional situation, that's good, but the walk-up traffic is something that I have a concern with, as I mentioned, with the children being, in the neighborhood and so close to the facility. And that's really the only reason why, I would have to, vote no. But I do support the mission. I think you're doing a great job, and I think it's a wonderful effort. but I felt obligated to share that, you know.
And Mr. Chairman, if I will, given some of the, currently have a vote on the table, given some of the concerns about the walk-up services and the daily services, the applicant has mentioned they are willing to remove that off the table from the PD, and there wouldn't be the daily, walk-in services that would be allowed. So if that's something that the board would want to consider, that is something that they've mentioned.
So if I understand you correctly, you're saying that they are willing to remove the day operation? I mean,
Okay, now you've piqued my interest. Is there any way we could defer this, ma'am, until we can get more details and get all this worked out with all the powers to be? Mr. Attorney?
But
why do we need to do that? If they're willing to remove.
We're willing to remove the daytime services from the facility and keep them where they're currently located.
So nobody's gonna walk up to that facility?
No, sir.
Through any neighborhoods?
No, sir.
People are going to be bussed in and out?
They will have to call to have an intake to be.
For their
Yes.
overnight services?
For the overnight.
It's gonna be like a magnet, they're gonna come to, they're talking, we can talk, it's gonna be like a magnet, you're gonna come from everywhere,
Hey, Mr. Bailey, please.
got my heart in this too.
I understand, sir. Please, we're trying to work out a very difficult situation here.
From what we understand, the issue across the board is kind of the fear of the walk-ins. So not having them on that location kind of dispels that fear, hopefully. And we are currently at a location where they are fine that we stay there for the walk-in services. So we would not have to move them.
Okay.
We have a motion on the table that we need to handle.
Yes. All right, Mr. Attorney, I need some help here. We have a motion and a second on the table. Should we go ahead and take this vote? And or withdraw? Do we need to withdraw? Or at this point, what do we need to do, sir?
The board can go ahead and proceed with the vote, or if the board would like to make a motion to defer, which can be made while the other motion is pending. A motion can be made to defer it, second, and then if that's approved, it's deferred to whatever date you set it. So you have those two options
With this particular motion?
with this motion. But you have a motion.
If we want to make another motion, where we, a motion to change what is being offered.
Sure. So in that case, then I think I would recommend, there's a motion and a second on the table. I'd recommend that, a motion and a second to withdraw that, because right now it's before the Planning Commission. So the Planning Commission would have to vote to withdraw the pending motion.
Okay, let me add to that real quick to the people of these neighborhoods. Y'all do understand that these folks already have the ability to have walk-up traffic with the zoning they have right now, correct, Ms. Lee?
A number of the services are allowed under zoning, under laundry services, rendering a personal service office. There's a number of services that can be categorized under those types of uses that are already allowed. Yes, sir.
So all we are here tonight for is to give them the services so they can overnight house people.
Yes, sir.
So,
And they are willing to
and they're willing to withdraw. Listen, Commissioner. Sir, no, sir, no, sir, no, sir.
They cannot guarantee it.
No, sir.
They will not have walk-up.
No, sir, it's not allowed. Mr. Commissioner, would you like to say anything? Okay, you looked at me like you might want to. Okay, Commissioners, I just mentioned about the deferral till we could all get on the same page and kind of whip each other into shape. If y'all don't want to do that, I don't have an issue with that at all.
but we have to have a vote tonight. And we still have a lot of, I mean, I think that my time on the planning commission, what's before us is more important and more stressful for our community than anything I've ever been a part of. And we don't need to do this willy-nilly. We don't need to turn this down willy-nilly. We don't need to approve this willy-nilly. We need to do this with deep thought, and so we can all come to a conclusion that everybody can live with. So, commissioners.
I have a question for the county attorney. The motion that was made, does it have to be withdrawn by the person that made it? It can be anyone? Right. Start with, I'll make a motion to withdraw the current motion.
And I second.
So then we vote on that?
Yes.
Yes. All right, commissioners, we need a vote on the withdrawal of my motion, which was to deny outright. And yay? All right, that's unanimous, 6-0. All right, commissioners, I'm ready. I'm all ears. I need some discussion.
We're just gonna offer another motion then.
And then you discuss, yeah.
Okay, let's make a motion.
Okay, I offer a motion to approve ZM 22411 with the following condition, and that condition is that there will be no day services, is that the right term to use? Walk-up day services at this location.
By no one that's enrolled in that school.
Well, I think it would be you're removing those type of services
Right.
from the PD tax.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. So I think, Ms. Leaf, is that clear enough for what would be removed from the PD tax?
Yeah, and I may ask the county attorney, I mean, right now there are very specific uses, like a laundry self-service facility, office. I mean, I think the nonprofit office, they could still have office space there, but does that satisfy, or do they need to actually enumerate which of those uses would need to come out?
I'm taking this as an amendment to just the homeless services portion, right? And not to any other uses. So this will go just in that, I think the Roman numeral 11 and 12, I think it was. Can we pull that up?
Yeah.
Can we pull the actual
It's a little
text?
bit small, but, yeah, so under, homeless shelter,
Is number 12 and number 11. I think 11 and 12, so.
the bottom left-hand column into the right-hand column.
So that would be the portion that will be amended with this motion in terms of no daytime services.
Ms. Howard, how many people are you going to have in that facility per day as students or as applicants, I guess you would call them, or clients? I'm talking about people that you are teaching how to be productive citizens.
We can have up to 29 beds in that facility.
29 beds.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So if we put a stipulation in here that there could not be over 29 homeless people in that facility at one given time.
There's not room for more than that in the location, in the big room. So yes, sir.
Okay, and these people that are housed at your facility,
Yes, sir.
they are going to be driven in and driven out to jobs, and they're not going to be just wandering the streets.
No, sir.
Okay, how can we stipulate that?
But what we're stipulating is, unless I'm mistaken, is that those day services for people other than that are in you got two different programs, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Help me.
What was the question? The day services is what we're not bringing in.
You will not provide
Yes,
day
ma'am.
services, and
Right,
that
so-
should take care of it.
Right, so walk-up laundry, walk-up showers, walk-up social services, those types of things. Yes.
I'm just reading like.
Folks, again, I want y'all to understand, if we turn this down tonight, these folks can go open a homeless walk-up shelter tomorrow if they purchase this facility. Okay? They can do it tomorrow. They already have that zoning.
So can you help me, Mr. Attorney, with the language?
Certainly, and someone also brought to the attention that little room number 5 is also part of that, I guess, the process too. So this will get referred to the Board of Commissioners. So I think if you tell us what your intent is in your motion, staff will work with, on it and bring something to the Board of Commissioners that resembles the intent of the Planning Commission. I don't think you have to actually line item by line item that. So if it's no day services and 11, 12, and 6, if you want to, elaborate on that, that's fine as well. So we'll reduce that down to an actual text amendment for the board's consideration.
Okay.
All right.
So you want to put it back up there, Ms. Leaf? So, okay, I move to recommend approval of ZM 2411 with the following conditions, which will be no day services. Is that correct? Does that work?
It does, and just for clarification, no day services for homeless services and
Yes, day
homeless
service.
shelter purposes, right? And we're not talking about all the other
Right, day
enumerated.
services
Yep.
for the homeless and homeless shelter.
Correct.
So that's my motion.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second.
All right, Commissioners, trying to get my thoughts together. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Wait, let's do some discussion here. In my 8 years on the Planning Commission, I don't remember a case that has taken this long. I'm glad you moved this to the front, Neil. I understand that if we deny this, that they could do what they want to do with the walk-up day services tomorrow if they buy this building. But I cannot ignore all of these people that turned out to see us hopefully deny this for something going into their neighborhood. And I had an aunt that lived at the end of West Shore Drive when I was a child, and I used to play down there. And I cannot, in good conscience, vote for this. So I may be the only one, but I will vote to deny the motion.
Anyone else for discussion? All right. All in favor? Okay, we got 4. All against? 2.
And this is only a recommendation to the county commission.
Correct.
Is all. That's where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
And Mr. Chairman, for the public's benefit, this is noticed for the June 20th Board of Commissioners meeting, and that will be held in this room at 6 o'clock, and there's also a public hearing during that same meeting. In the packet with this revised plan development text and recommendation will be available to the public approximately 1 week prior to that meeting, or it's usually the Friday evening of the week prior to the meeting.
No, absolutely not. All right, folks. Ms. Leaf, I don't even know that this is appropriate. Is there any way we can defer everything else on our calendar to next month? No?
You can't do that.
Can't do that?
So all of the items on your agenda tonight are public hearings, so if that is your choice to defer each one, you would need to take each of those up separately and defer them to the next month. That was your own choice.
Never mind. Too big of a deal. All right, folks. Clink, everybody please ease out as quick as possible.
Jeff. That's,
There's not, and this was a no-win situation, because we were basically forced to.
folks. Ladies and gentlemen, please clear out. We have additional business we have to attend.
We were basically being forced to decide if we were against the homeless, and that's not all.
That's probably more problematic.
No, she said no. All right, folks, the next item on the agenda is SP 24-11-491, Gateway Center Boulevard, Unit 17 Site Plan. Consider site plan approval for 3 new commercial buildings, 10,390 square feet, 8,950 square feet, 8,950 square feet, and associated infrastructure at 491 Gateway Center Plaza, parcel 03-12105. The site is zone plan development. Zach Johnson, Robert Civil Engineering, agent for Equity Trust Company owner. Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners. Chuck Flowers, Glynn County Planning and Zoning. I'd like to present for you this application to consider site plan approval for the 3 commercial buildings at this address. As you said, it is currently under a plan development text, and Jake Lemons is actually representing the owner for Robert Civil Engineering. This is the location. If you're familiar with the area, this is basically directly behind Cheddar's. There's a dialysis center there, and there's a small street with a cul-de-sac, Alpine Court, and it's got a Gateway Center address, but the property actually consumes almost all of the cul-de-sac court there. For the sake of time, you've already stated this site plan would have 3 commercial buildings on it, and they have defined the commercial buildings as office flex buildings. That is defined as basically a building that is 50% office space and 50% storage. This is the site plan. It sits adjacent to to the PD text, other properties in the PD text, and also a residential development. They do have buffers, the appropriate buffers that for the street and for the residential development. This is a conceptual plan of what those buildings will look like. These are some site photos. It's previously it's in the middle of being cleared now. Some of the harvesting timber and stuff like that off of the site. It's kind of like I said, this property, if looking at the site plan, it engulfs the entire cul-de-sac, the end of the cul-de-sac. So the pictures are kind of hard to make out, the scope of the total parcel. But if you're on Gateway Center Boulevard looking down, this is looking down Alpine Court, which is where this parcel is located. And this is in the cul-de-sac looking out towards towards Gateway Center. If you could zoom in from here, it's like I said, essentially this is almost directly behind Cheddar's. To the left, as you go up the road here, the dialysis center is on the left and the new commercial building is on the right. These are your motions, and as I said, Jake Lemon is here representing the owner with Robert Stillman Engineering, and that's all staff has at this time.
Okay, Commissioners, we got any questions for staff? Okay, applicant?
Good afternoon, Jay Clemmings, Robert Civil Engineering. Chuck gave a good overview. So the developer's looking to do 3 office flex space units. We meet all the buffer requirements, parking requirements. I think this one's a pretty straightforward one, so I'm happy to answer any specific questions you have.
Okay. All right, commissioners, any questions? Nope. All right, it's time to open the public portion of this item. Let's have the people that's for it come up and speak. Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Let's have the opposition come up and speak. Okay, hearing none, seeing none. The public portion is closed. Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a motion to approve SP 2411 as presented.
Okay, I have a motion.
I'll
Need a
second.
second?
I'll second.
All right, Commissioner Higgins seconded. All right, discussion? No discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
They wore us out.
All right, next item on the agenda is SP 24-13-265 Chandler Drive Site Plan. Consider site plan approval for a new 9,200 square foot commercial building and associated infrastructure at 265 Chandler Drive. Parcel 03-12703. The site is zone plan development. Peter Schonauer, Tidewater Engineering, agent for Morales Brothers Enterprise LLC owner.
Good evening, Chuck Flowers, Glynn County Planning and Zoning. As you said, this is presenting this for your consideration. This development is part of, there's an auto body shop out there now. Same owner owns this parcel, and they are wanting to expand over to the other parcel. We'll go ahead and move on to the next. This is the location. If you're familiar on Chandler Drive, their facility is where the red arrow is, and if you go down one lot down, that's where J&J Tire is. A little bit of background, this is pretty straightforward as well. There is one thing that you will be voting on this site plan. They are asking for a waiver that you have the ability as the Planning Commission to grant for the interparcel connectivity. They are required by the zoning ordinance to connect from one parcel to the next on commercial developments. The ordinance does allow for y'all to make a waiver based on certain conditions that they may meet. One of those conditions being a previously approved or existing development that would prohibit the interparcel connectivity. And so they are asking and showing on this site plan that is presented, they are asking for that waiver not to have that connection. This is a letter from the J&J Tire, the adjacent property owner that does not have a stub out basically to allow that interparcel connection. This is a letter from them stating that they have no need or no desire to grant that permission for that access. This is the site plan. They do have interparcel connectivity between their existing parcel that they're using with the auto body shop to this one. It's just not to the other parcel. You have that ability as the Planning Commission to grant that waiver by approving this site plan as presented. This is a conceptual plan of what the building will look like. And here are some photos of the existing parcel, adjacent parcel where their existing business now operates. This is the adjacent parcel of J&J Tire. And this is looking from the parcel across the road. I believe that's Center Point Church and that plaza there across the road. And these are your possible motions. Pete Schoenhauer with Tidewater Engineering is here to answer any questions on behalf of the owner.
Okay.
And that's all from staff at this time.
Okay, I do have a question for
Yes,
you,
sir.
sir. The J&J Tire letter.
Yes,
The
sir.
J&J Tire letter. Tell me again exactly what that's stating.
They are in this letter, and I'm sorry, I can't even read that from here. But in that letter, they're stating that they have no desire, they don't have access there now, and they have no desire to grant access there. In order for the access to work, both properties have to essentially have an easement that connects to each other so the roadway can cross across both parcels. And they're stating that they don't have that and they don't have any intentions of granting that.
Okay.
I'll just make a comment. This subdivision, when it was originally designed, I don't think they were looking at interparcel connectivity. I know they have it in the ordinance.
Right.
I don't think it's ever been an issue out there with any approval of the site plan. Now, if we need to grant that, I don't have a problem with it. But
Well,
this is the first time
according
I've
to
seen
the
it.
way the ordinance is written, and because this is an existing development that didn't, for whatever reason, didn't adhere to that at the time, or wasn't required to do that, then you have the power, and it meets that requirement that, an existing development that don't have it, you have the ability to say, okay, well, since there's not one there, we waive the requirement to do that. I don't know the history. I know this building has been here for a while, and I don't really know at time what the application and the staff, I don't know what the intent was when it was originally approved. I know, like I said, they are providing inter-parcel connectivity to their existing lot, just not to this one because it's not there and available at J&J Tire.
Okay. All right, understood. All right, commissioners, any questions for Mr. Flowers?
So just so I make sure I understand, when you're facing their existing collision center, J&J is to the right?
Left.
J&J is to the left from here.
To the left.
Yeah. So between these two buildings is the lot.
Okay, gotcha, okay. That's all.
And right now,
wanted to make
and I
sure.
apologize, I thought I had a different picture in here, but it's basically a wooded lot. Small wood, as staff knows.
Gotcha.
All right, any additional questions for Mr. Flowers? All right, Mr. Schoenauer, get up here and let's talk about it. Me too, buddy.
Pete Schoenauer, Tidewater Engineering, acting as the agent for the Morales Brothers, who are the owners. They're also here in the audience if I can't answer any questions. And I'm here to ask that you approve the site plan. It's a good site plan.
Without the interconnectivity?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I think really that should be, it's a local road. I think
Yeah,
interconnectivity is
absolutely.
a high-use area on Arterial or Collector Street. It makes sense.
I think we need, the reason why I stated that, I think we need to say that, don't we, when we make a motion?
Well, I thought it was approved.
It was already included, I think.
I guess you could approve it as presented, yes.
Okay.
But by approving it as presented, the site plan has that note on there, and it don't show that connectivity to J&J Tire. So just approving it as presented would
Okay,
grant that
perfect.
waiver.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't mess up. All right, commissioners, any questions for Mr. Schoenauer? Nope. Okay, no further questions. All right, can I get a motion?
Don't you need to see if there's anybody?
Hold on just one second. The motion, the number is wrong. Whenever you state your motion, just do SP 2413.
All right, I jumped ahead of myself.
No, I just wanted to catch you before somebody made a
We got to
motion.
open a public hearing. That first item has got me all messed up, y'all. Please bear with me. All right, it's time to open a public hearing portion for this item. Anyone that's in opposition of this, please step forward. Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Anyone that's in favor of this, please step forward. Okay, let the record show there are no opposition nor anyone in favor. Okay, we're going to close the public hearing portion of this. Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a motion to approve SP 2413 as presented.
I'll second that. Okay, commissioners, any discussion? All right, let's have a vote, eh? All right, it's unanimous, 7-0. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, folks, we're gonna move into 2.3, which is SP-24-12-6650 Highway 99 Site Plan. Consider site plan approval for a 500,000 275 square foot warehouse and associated infrastructure at 6650 Highway 99, parcel 03-17615. The site is zoned Plan Development, PD. Abigail Turns, agent for Kyle Webb, KSH Engineering, engineering for Brunswick and Glynn County Development Authority owner. Report, Mr. Carey.
Good evening, Christopher Carey, Glynn County Planning and Zoning. Before you tonight, we have a site plan approval for a 500,000 square foot warehouse over in the Trade Winds Development Park. Here's the site. This is the first major development for the Trade Winds Industrial Tract. The project is an economic development project. Again, it will consist of a 500,000 square foot warehouse and infrastructure improvements to support the site. Here's the entrance to the property along Highway 99. As you can see behind it, it's I-95. And here are your elevations for the site. Here's the site plan. And here are your proposed motions. We did receive a comment not necessarily in opposition, but a comment in concern from 100 Miles that was emailed to you all this afternoon as well. And that is all from staff.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Carey. All right, commissioners, any questions from Mr. Carey?
Mr. Carey, what's supposed to be housed in this warehouse? Is that something you can answer?
I'm not at the liberty to discuss what would be housed at the site at this time, but the applicant may be able to.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Mr. Carey? Thank you, Mr. Carey. Would the applicant for the SP 24-12-6650 step forward?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Kyle Webb. I'm here to represent this project for the Development Authority, and just here to answer any questions. I think, again, staff did a good job. Obviously, we're here to recommend approval of this site plan as well. So, but
okay. We had a question already. Mr.
Yes.
Dawson presented to you.
That's right. So it's not fully defined yet, but what we do know is that half the building will be for manufacturing of building supplies. The other half is not fully determined yet. That's still a little bit to be decided, so.
Okay. Any further questions? That's an awful big warehouse.
It is awful big warehouse.
It's a lot of building supplies.
Any additional questions? All right, commissioners, any discussion? And we need a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm telling y'all got me all messed up. It's time for the public hearing portion of this. Would anybody that like to speak in favor step forward? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Would anybody that is opposed step forward? Hearing none, seeing none. Okay, commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve SP 2412 as presented.
Okay, I'll second. Go ahead.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? It's unanimous, 7-0. All right, 2.4, item ZM-24-10-3401 Highway 82 rezone. Consideration of a rezone of 3401 and 3415 Highway 82 from R9 to FA Forest Agricultural to Highway Commercial for an existing commercial office. Parcel ID 01-00696 and 02-00697. Tony Chastain Jr., Grace Landscaping Incorporated, owner. Mr. Carey.
Good evening, Christopher Carey, Glynn County Planning and Zoning. Before you tonight, we do have a rezoning for 3401 Highway 82 and 3415 Highway 82. The entire project area is 0.92 acres. The request is to rezone to highway commercial. Here's the site. It's at the corner of Baumgardner and Highway 82. There was a code enforcement case open on this property for commercial use within a residential zone property. Both properties have been owned by Mr. Chastain since 2020 and 2021. Here's the view of the site from Highway 82. As you can see, here's the location of the office, which is currently a residential home. And here is where the vehicles are parked, and you also see some plants located here as well. Here's your view from Baumgardner. And here's your view from the buffer area that would be required if this was a highway commercial site. There was a concern from the neighbor adjacent to the property about the buffering, and that's why you have this here. Again, the required buffer for highway commercial against residential zone properties would be a 20-foot planted buffer or a 12-foot planted buffer with a landscape wall. Here's the highway commercial zoning. Here is a sketch plan of the site outlining how it's currently set up. And here are your possible motions. We do have a representative from the company here as well.
Okay.
The buffer, what's the mechanism to ensure that it's in place, and when, how?
You would have to make that as a motion to have the required buffering be in place contingent to the zoning, to the rezoning.
I know we'd require with a site plan and all, but if he doesn't come before us for a site plan, there's no mechanism to enforce that, I guess?
Correct.
Okay.
I want to assume the piece on the corner is FA and the piece with the office is residential.
Yes.
So landscape companies allowed in FA?
Yes.
Yes. So the out of compliance piece is really the R9 piece, correct?
Correct.
Use them for an office.
Right. Yep. And so that picture you just showed, is it to the back of the FA piece or all of it, or where you said the neighbor was concerned?
Yeah, this is the FA piece where the neighbor is concerned. It's the adjacent neighbor right here.
Okay.
And this portion over here is the R9 residential zone portion.
Okay. And just for my knowledge, if they were operating a landscape company in FA zoning, what would be the required buffer?
It would be.
I got him. I'm just kidding. It's like it's late, Missy.
Why do you have to be so?
It would be
Well, I
a
just want to,
type
as
A
we're
buffer as
deciding
well.
about the buffer, I want to understand that, because they don't, in my opinion, really have to rezone that piece.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah,
It would still be a type A because it would be a commercial use.
gotcha. So same buffer requirement. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, commissioners, any additional questions for Mr. Carey? All right, Mr. Carey, we're done with you. Would the applicant like to step forward?
Good evening, Tony Chastain.
All right,
I'd like you
commissioners.
to approve this.
Yes, sir. All right, commissioners, any questions for Mr. Chastain?
So can we go back to the little site plan? So I guess is the applicant asking for there not to be a buffer, or?
That was just supposed to be my question.
Stole your question.
No, I wasn't asking for it not to be a buffer. Me and Mr. Hershey had worked out the buffering situation, yesterday and today. And whatever y'all require, that's what we'll do.
Okay. On your property, you'll do the buffer?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So where it shows parking now, that's going to be your buffer.
And you'll move your parking a little bit?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
All right, Commissioners, any additional questions to Mr. Chastain? Okay, thank you, Mr. Chastain. It's time to open the public portion of this hearing. Would anybody step forward that's in opposition of this zoning? Okay, hearing none. Okay, come forward, sir. Okay, let's hear from you.
Nervous. That was a heck of a start to the meeting. Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate y'all letting us speak. That was very enlightening earlier. You've got two sides. Can you hear me? Oh, I'm sorry, my name.
Please tell me your name and address.
I'm sorry. John Hersey. I'm 117 Baumgardner Street next to, right behind that parking you see there.
All right, and it's Hershey?
It's Hersey. It's almost like the candy bar, but without the
All
H
right,
in the middle.
Mr. Hersey, don't be nervous. You can't be any more shook up than I am, I promise you. You go right ahead and do your thing.
I've never done anything like this. I've never had a piece of property next to me go from one thing to another. So it's a education. So it's been fascinating tonight because you got collective wisdom. You're taking two sides and you're trying to make a judgment. This one should be a lot easier. You've got people that live in the area and you've got people that want to do something in the area. And one, you had the homeless shelter, right? And we got a business here and he's beneficial to the community. He's a good guy to work with. He's bringing stuff into it. But I live in that area. So my concern is noise and traffic. That's why I think y'all called it a buffer, a fence, like a privacy fence or something that might cut down on the noise and some of the sounds. But then there's kind of traffic too. He's doing great, so the traffic is going to be a lot more coming in and out of the street. I don't know what y'all can do about that. I mean, I think the state handles those flashing yellow lights or whatever to let people know you've got a lot of traffic coming in and out of the area. But, so I don't know how this is going to affect property taxes. I don't know how it's going to affect long-term things, you know. So I'm going to let y'all's collective wisdom, I don't know what to think for in the future. We work together well. We've had issues in the past, I mean, not issues, but situations that we resolved together by talking it out. But I don't know what'll happen if he gets so successful he moves and then the next person comes in and I can't work stuff out with them. What do you do then, you know? What do y'all think?
Sir, what are you asking for?
Well, is it an ordinance you call it, like on that property there has to be like a privacy fence or a buffer fence to kind of keep the noise down? Is that part of it?
That's something we could consider, yes, sir. But I can already tell you, you're not gonna get a caution light on 82.
Oh, I know that. I just wanted y'all to be aware of the traffic.
For Baumgardner Road, it's
Yeah.
just it's not feasible.
That's fine. I
Yes.
just thought I'd bring something up, you know?
Yes.
It's only early in the morning.
Are you having specific issues now, sir?
Just the noise, a lot of noise.
Are you having any issues that you've talked to Mr. Chastain about that hasn't been alleviated?
No, that's what I'm saying. We work stuff out.
Okay. All right.
So
Is that all you got?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
That's it.
Thank you very much, sir. All right. Opposition?
Somewhat. I own the property on the other side. So he owns the property on one side of the landscaping.
Yes, sir.
And I own the property on the other side. And that property is rental property.
So we talk about the old Lightsey property? Is that the one that?
Maybe,
Lightsey?
it's 3393 and 3385. If you look at your, if there's a map of the area,
Yes, sir.
I can show you
It's
exactly.
a little white
where.
house?
It is.
Yes.
And I think I've heard it referenced to that before.
Yes, sir.
If you look, well, you can go back to that picture. If you look where his, the yellow house where his office is, I own that, the two houses to the left.
Yes, sir.
I haven't had any problem dealing with him. He's a good man in my opinion. My only concern is my investment property there. And I've had my renter complain about some issues. He's already fixed those issues that my renter complained about, as far as like a shed in the back. But I just wanna, you were talking about a buffer, and I really got confused when you were talking about him moving his parking lot or adjusting his parking lot for a buffer zone, or one of you guys mentioned that earlier. My only problem is I don't want my tenants to have to contend with a lot of racket and noise coming from there. But with that being said, if there is a buffer zone you're talking about, I don't understand what it consists of. What is a buffer zone when you say buffer zone?
Well, it's just vegetation. It's, specifically, Ms. Leaf could address this, but, it's just a natural buffer, you know, like trees and shrubs and what have you. Sir, specifically, are you having issues now with?
No, we don't have it, we're not having issues. If I have issues with him, I'll call him and we'll
Okay.
straighten it out.
Okay.
My problem is if he does sell and move,
Yes, sir.
you know, I don't know who's gonna take his place, and
Well,
and
that's
I'm sure
something,
nobody
that's something
knows.
nobody knows.
Right.
Yes, sir.
But I just wanna stand up and say I support him in his endeavor. If there is a buffer zone we can put there to keep my tenants happy,
Yes, sir.
I'm all for that.
Yes, sir.
The,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, this being a commercial rezone, it's residential next to it, a 20-foot buffer is required, but they have an alternate buffer, it's called type A, which is a fence and 12 feet of landscape on there, which some of it, they probably already have almost 12 feet of landscape on it, but, it would be basically a privacy fence is what you'd see along there, and that would be, my recommendation anyway, a type A modified, which would reduce it from 20 to 12 on it, seeing the size of the lot. It's kind of small in the back, 50 feet wide, and you take out 40 feet, that's not a lot of space to deal with, so.
Well, thank you for hearing.
Thank you,
hearing
sir.
from me.
And state your name one more time and give us your address again, please.
Joe Hersey. Now, do you want the address of that house there?
Yes, sir, please.
That house location is 3393 Highway 82.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. All right, anyone else in opposition? All right, now, seeing none, hearing none, what about in favor? Do we have anybody in favor? You already did that? I'm telling y'all, I'm all messed up. All right, we're gonna close this portion of the public hearing. And, commissioners, discussion, and I need a motion.
Can you can you go back one, just real quick? Is there room on the left-hand side to do a type A modified buffer?
They would just have to
Huh?
put it in as is. I mean, if there's a building in the way,
Yeah,
attempt to put in. How
okay,
about-
yeah, just as long as we're on the same page
Yeah.
about that. So they're gonna, all property lines except for the Highway 82?
Well, anything
What about
adjacent to
them?
residential.
Yeah,
What, you gotta put it down Baumgardner Road too?
No.
no,
Okay, so
sorry, I
you're
should
just
have
gonna
said
put
that.
it on two sides?
Well, it's really like three sides.
Yeah, you're right, it would come up here.
But you have to do it the whole property line, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, you have to do it the whole, for the rezone, you have to do it the whole property line that's adjacent to other property owners of different zoning, right?
That's correct.
Yep, so, that's all.
Mr. Chastain, you okay with a buffer and, are we gonna put a fence up there too, Commissioner New?
Well, he could either do 20 feet of natural buffer. I think if it's got, if it's wooded or got shrubbery and that, I don't think you have to put a fence and 10. Yeah.
He can do either or,
Yeah,
Commissioner Newt?
I think so, right?
Yeah.
Either or.
That is correct. Because there's no existing buffer, whatever buffer you make is what would have to go with the zoning. So that could be the landscape wall, it could be the type A modified, it could be a type A in general, but you would have that decision to make or to recommend for approval.
We have to be specific, right?
Yes.
And I think it needs to be type A modified because of the room that Gary mentioned on that one side.
Yeah, well, as a planning commission, we're allowed to modify it even more, I think, if we need to, if we just said 6 or 8 foot privacy fence along there. Also, so it's whatever we want.
Mr. Chastain, you know anybody that put landscape up for you?
All right, Commissioners, any further discussion? All right, no further discussion. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ZM-24-10 with a modification to the buffer requirement, just to provide a 6 foot minimum high privacy fence along it, or that's it.
All right, I'll second that motion. All right.
So fence, but no.
Fence, no landscape, correct, along there. For discussion, I find it kind of awkward that they require a fence and landscaping, and they require landscaping on the inside where it doesn't really benefit anybody. And if you put it on the outside, you're putting your fence 12 feet away from your property line. Who's going to maintain the landscaping?
Yeah.
So,
Yes, sir.
privacy fence only.
All right, I got a motion and a second, folks. Ready to vote? All discussion's over with. All in favor? 7-0, unanimous. All right, next item on the agenda is ZM-24-12-4270, Highway 17 rezone. Consideration of a rezone of 4270 Highway 17 from Highway Commercial to Planned Development District. The intent is to provide a mixed-use development with commercial along Highway 17, a pond, a single-family residential use in line with the proposed PD text, parcel ID 03-00573. Jake Lemmings, Robert Civil Engineering, agent for ECA Holdings, William and Wade Watley applicants, and Charles Wells owner. Mr. Carey.
Yes, sir. Christopher Carey, Glynn County Planning and Zoning. Before you tonight, we do have a rezoning to a planned development. Here's the site. This is a rezoning for a mixed-use development. The intent, again, is to provide a mixed-use development with highway commercial, specifically along Highway 17, a pond, and 4 essentially R20 lots on the rear, as proposed in the PD text. Here's a view of the existing structure on the site. Vacant or blighted properties are highlighted as an opportunity to redevelop according to the comprehensive plan for existing traditional residential, which is this area. And just to highlight in the PD text what is proposed, so it would be uses allowed in highway commercial along the front, residential family limited to no more than 4 lots, and excavation and dredging of natural materials to create a pond. And here are your development standards for the PD text. So you'll have essentially an R20 lot, 20,000 square feet, 100-foot lot width with 20-foot front setback, 7 feet on the sides, and then commercial uses within highway commercial. Here is your zoning exhibit. And that is all from staff, and we do have Jake Hightower to complete this application.
All right, folks, we got any questions for Mr. Carey? All right, Mr. Carey, Mr. Lemons? I'm sorry, Mr. Hightower. I'm telling y'all.
Jake. Good evening, Jake Hightower with Robert
You
Civil
don't look
Engineering.
anything like Mr. Lemons either.
I don't. He's doing a good job, though, I hope. No, Jake Lemmings and myself are both applicants, or agents for this application. We thank you for your time tonight. We ask that you approve this zoning amendment. I must say that this piece of property came before y'all about 13 months ago. And when it came before y'all, we had just about as many people in the room as the first item on the agenda tonight. Because if y'all recall, we came in there to do apartments. We did what we normally do. We just turn our application, they post it, and then they go forward. Well, this time instead, I knew that they were very passionate about this neighborhood, and so now you see 3 neighbors here. But what we did, the very first thing we did is we turned in our application, and then we reached out directly to the owners, and we said, hey guys, we're coming back around. Here's what the property is. Here's what the plan is, and here are the owners. And I said, we'd love to meet with y'all. So we got together in their little community barn area. The owners showed up and answered all their questions. And we just sat down and had a conversation for about an hour. So it really was able to answer all the questions, show them exactly what we wanted to do, which is, again, it's zoned highway commercial, keep highway commercial on the frontage, dig a pond and sell that dirt. That's an important part as well. One neighbor said he wanted a few loads of dirt, and we said they can probably get a discount. And then on the rear side, we said a minimum of 20,000 square foot lots. More than likely, there'll be an acre piece, but we had to put a minimum in there. And one of the owners, that's his plan for a homestead one day. But again, the main purpose is to make it that highway commercial in that pond. Again, ask for your approval. It's in, I think, District 3, bordering District 4, but available for any questions that you may have.
All right, commissioners.
No commercial off Bell Point, and I was looking at the zoning, and I probably didn't read it as closely as I should have on there, but does it actually say no commercial on Bell Point?
That's correct. It says that, that the commercial will access Highway 17 and residential will be the only access to,
Great.
I said Yacht Road or Old Bell Point, but it really is Old Bell Point on the back where the residential would be.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners? Mr. Hightower's just dying for us to ask him a question. All right, we're gonna open the public hearing portion of this. Do we have anyone that would like to step forward in favor of this zoning?
Yes, my name is Neil Gilchrist, I live at 291 Old Bell Point Road. Speaking for the residents there, we have been very cautious against development causing us problems in that area. What they have come forth there is very much in the keeping of the feeling of the neighborhood, and we do support it as long as they, do what they promise. We welcome them to do this, because what they're describing is a very, like I said, in keeping with the feeling and the nature of the neighborhood is good. So we support it.
Thank you, sir. Sir, did you state your name and address?
Neil Gilchrist, 291 Old Bell Point.
Thank you very much. All right, anyone else that would like to speak in favor?
My name is Brenda Keene. I'm actually Mrs. Gilchrist, but I didn't change my name. So my address is 291 Old Bell Point Road also. The only question that I was concerned about, and I don't think they're going to do it, but the neighbors up and down Old Bell Point Road were concerned about adding any dirt so that we got any water coming across that road to the residences that are already there. Yeah.
Okay,
She
Ms.
lives
King.
on the corner of Old Bell Point and Yacht Road, and we live next door.
Okay, Ms. King, we'll have Mr. Hightower come up and answer that question. Is that all the questions you have, Ms. King?
Yeah, as long as we don't have any problem with water,
Yes,
more
ma'am.
water coming
Yes, ma'am.
across the road,
Yes, ma'am.
then we're very happy to have them.
Okay. Anyone else would like to speak in favor of this? Okay. Hear none, see none. Is there anyone in here that would like to speak in opposition of this zoning? Okay, thank God. Hear none, see none. Mr. Hightower.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the chance to answer the question. So we're required by county ordinances to not send any more water off of any site than the pre-existing conditions. But also with this being a pond, it's basically going to grade back to that pond to where it will take basically water from those residences back to that pond. We can't alter anything outside of the property, but in general, this is not going to be before it would have been something that was built up high, but still we would have had to have great inlets and drains come back to the pond. No matter what we do, we still have to have that same condition. So there will be no extra runoff that comes from this development to any surrounding areas from the residences. Everything will come back to that pond.
And that pond won't overflow into to the canal that runs all the way to
The overflow,
Troop Creek?
it will outfall to a pipe that's currently going to that canal right now. So
Okay.
it will be
All
no net increase.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, commissioners.
I move to recommend approval of ZM 2412 as presented.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. All in favor? 7-0, unanimous.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.